And then we can go to the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Do you have anything, or? Does anybody have anything? Okay.
I make a motion we approve the August 20th, 2024 agenda.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the first two items on the agenda, 1 and 2, P24-23 and P24-27, are both continued until the September 17th, 2024 meeting. So we will move down to case number P24-31. And this is the proposal to subdivide a parent lot of 33.96 acres into 3 total lots, 11C-1, 11.02 acres, lot 11C-2 of 11.09 acres, and lot 11C3, 11.85 acres. And this is for completeness. There is one waiver.
Chairman, it appears to be complete.
Okay. How about the waiver, Raj? We should do the waiver. There's one waiver.
There's a waiver of driveway profiles and cross sections.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah, we're just trying to get through the completeness, right?
Right.
But the waiver,
We have to do the waivers first.
yeah, the waiver would have to be decided on for completeness.
Right.
What is the property owner or the agent here?
I believe so.
Yeah. Everybody's here.
Yeah, but they're here too.
These profiles are not.
I think where it's a minor subdivision, I think their plan is to design the driveways after the properties are property selling and things of that nature.
Therefore, we would accept the waiver.
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the waiver. Section 7, semicolon E, period 2, period J.
I will second that.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Move on to completeness.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Based on the information that we received in the planning office, there's no reason to believe that the application isn't complete.
Okay.
I see everything as a yes.
Yep. Looks good. Sure.
I make a motion we accept case number 24-31 as complete.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. And is the agent here? I don't know. Do we?
Where are they going?
You have
I don't know.
You have a choice. So we set up the large table for applicants and their agents if they have plans and they want to lay things out. The podium is also available if you'd rather stand at the podium and talk, but you're more than welcome to come up and sit at this table and address the board, okay? Sure. Come on up, gentlemen. No, see, just please identify yourselves for the board and the audience.
My name's Colin Brown, I'm the surveyor. Brett Curry, Illinois. Thanks.
So this is a subdivision, right?
Yes, 3-lot subdivision. Would you like to do sort of an overview?
You can, yeah. If you, usually you guys, do you have an overview just to give?
Sure. So this is, Brett owns almost 34 acres along Route 140. It's almost at the Alton Gilmington town line. And he would like to subdivide that into 3 lots. All of the lots are over 11 acres.
Yep.
Because we are on the state highway, we have a driveway permit for each one of the lots. And we submitted plans that showed possible house locations and tested information and that kind of stuff for each one of them. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
The only question that I had, and I think it got answered, was the fire department had some questions, but that got resolved, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, the fire department had questioned because this is a subsequent subdivision of a much larger parcel. In our regulations, if it's subdivided again within 5 years, it's considered a major subdivision. We look back and according to the records, the original subdivision was in 1992, so it does not fall into that category.
And just to clarify, then subsequent to do a minor subdivision on the remaining parcel is within what's the regs call for?
Yes, within the existing regulations. There was one other note on the plan to bring to the board's attention. It could easily be a condition. Is also that the numbering of the lots. One of the concerns is that they need to be renumbered so that the parent lot is labeled, because the parent lot is 11C, and it just starts out, the subdivision starts out 11C 1, 2, and 3. The assessing department prefers to have that because currently under our tax card records, that parent lot would disappear if it wasn't considered as part of the numbering.
Okay. So my lot 11C1 would be lot 11C?
Yes, and then the other two would do 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
There were some other outstanding issues as well with that, mostly, just numbering sheets and specifying current use and different things. He probably has a list of that, I would say.
Sure. I know you guys were sent a copy of the plan review?
Yes. I have.
Yes, okay. So what we're looking at is the plan review. There was a series of notes, minor housekeeping plan, notations that Mr. Roger was referring to. Obviously, those, if the board so chooses, make that a condition of the final plans that are submitted and signed.
Okay. I have a couple of questions when we get to that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I wasn't sure about the boundary line for the subdivision lot as a dash line. Are you referring to the interior lot lines to be dashed?
Yes.
Are you all right with me responding to that, or do you want?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, what the meaning is the outline of the parent lot being in solid boundaries as the existing
Okay.
conditions, and then the interior lines are the new proposed subdivision lines being indicated in it with a dash line just to defer between the original parent lot and the subsequent subdivided lots.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you have any other questions on those?
I'll start with whether the property is in current use or not. I don't know the answer to that. It is in current use.
Okay. They just asked for that as a notation.
Okay. So you would like to see that on the plan as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was also a question regarding whether this was in the shoreline protection overlay district.
It is not, but
It
I'm
is not.
happy to add that note.
It needs to be reflected as well.
Yeah. I also had a question about the driveway profiles. Did your waiver include both cross sections and profiles? If it did, I think we could get rid of that one.
Yes,
We
Billy.
waived the driveway profiles and cross sections. We did waive that. Yep.
I would point out that they're not to the proper scale. In terms of when they're provided, they need to be in a different geometry than what you offered.
Right.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else anybody else on the board have any other questions?
The only question I guess is on the current use. I mean, normally, so it's 33 acres now, so it's under current use under such and such a name. So does it, when it gets subdivided, how does that? Because each lot is 11 acres, so it could stay in current use, but it would be somebody else being the owner.
You can transfer current
Yeah,
use.
so,
So I guess that would, once he sells a lot, I
Right.
guess that's.
It would
when that
transfer,
would
yeah. You can transfer current use.
Yeah.
and then if that individual subsequently was going to build, they would have to pull it out.
Right.
As part of their building
Yeah.
permit
Well,
process.
no, you can have a building on current use land. Because you still have the 11, you still have 10 acres. So I guess what they have to pull out a portion, I guess, whatever.
Yeah, right.
You know, if they use an acre to build on. But they can still leave it current.
Yeah, I'm not sure that you can do that without a defining line though.
Yeah.
Usually you have to subdivide out the property that's gonna be
Well, I've got
created
property. I've got property in current use
with
I
a
would-
structure on
with a
it.
building on it, yeah.
I'd have to verify that one with assessing, that's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
mhm.
I thought you had to pull it out and build on it. But.
What's that?
Rural was 2 acres minimum anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that'll put them under 10. Oh, that was a good point, Robin just raised that rural is minimum of 2 acres for a building lot,
Right.
so they would have to,
So you go to
they would have
9.
to attach 2 acres to the house, so we'd put them under the 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they still, yeah, I'm not sure, I'd have to look into that, but I think they can still stay in current use because they have the 10 acres.
Yeah. But
Oh.
we'll let Rob make that
Yeah.
decision
Yeah.
over assessing.
Cross the bridge when you get to it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just, if, no, I'll put it to public after, I just want to see if anybody else has any other questions on the board. You guys all set? Okay. Okay. Anything from the public? Okay. All right, just need a motion. Okay, I'll make a motion, case P24-31 for Brett Courier for final minor subdivision for a 3 lot subdivision, property located map 4, lot 11C, New Hampshire, Route 140, Alton, New Hampshire, including conditions as laid out in the plan review, with conditions and subsequent conditions precedent to approve.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Well said, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Next one, this is for completeness also. Okay. The next case is case number P24-33, proposal to demolish existing building and construct a hard packed gravel area for greenhouse storage and additional parking on lot 1. There are, excuse me? I thought, no, because right now we're doing completeness. And if you look on the agenda, this one's done. Yep. And then the next will be design. That'll be 32. Yep. So we don't have any waivers on this one. Right? None, right?
So as there are no waivers requested, I make a motion that we deem that the application is complete.
Second, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Did you have anything to add?
At this point? No, you can go ahead and listen to the applicant if you like.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
You're all set. You're up.
Good evening. For the record, Matt Mombasi with Bowler Engineering representing the applicant, Abashan Hardware. We were back here early, beginning of this year, for a preliminary application and after the final application for the project. As everyone's, I'm sure, very familiar with the site, the Abashan Hardware at Main Street. Abashan recently purchased the property next door. It has a small dwelling on it, 17 Main Street, and their intention is to expand their kind of the parking area, which you can see in there was very, very tight, to add some new and expanded, more comfortable parking and some operational area, which is expected to consist of a greenhouse, maybe some outdoor storages they're apt to do as part of their operations. The project will bring the site back up to 31 total parking spaces, which will be zoning compliant. As part of the project, we'll also redo the ADA spaces out there to make them up with the latest ADA regulations. There's a proposed stormwater management system to serve the new hard packed area, and part of the existing area consists of an infiltration basin and grass swale, which was presented at the first hearing and I believe has been reviewed by the peer review in the state. No removal of existing vegetation. The site is largely lawn area now. The existing dwelling will be removed from the driveway, and then the hard pack area will be in that lawn area at the rear of the site. Since the last hearing, the project has received a shoreline permit from NHDES for the work in the shoreline area. We had received an email from an abutter previous to the last hearing, just requesting a fence along the right side of the property when you're facing it, just to be a good neighbor. And we talked to Abashan, they were amenable to that, and that's been shown on the plan.
Good.
We did respond to the peer review of the stormwater. Some good comments, very technical in nature, nothing that appreciably changed the plan, but just some additional clarification helps. And and info on the stormwater system. And lastly, we did receive the planning department memo. I think there was a few comments on there, some additional notes to add to the plan, or maybe perhaps on a different sheet, and none of them seemed like we would take objection to that. That said, I'd be happy to run through anything in more detail or answer any questions the board has.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant did address the main concerns. Was one from the planning department, obviously verification that the residential home is indeed going to be removed. And also, like you said, the abutter is concerned about the fence. They were amenable to that and added it to the plan. So those are two talking points for tonight, which were already addressed.
I guess my only question would be with respect to site landscaping. There hasn't been any plan designed for that, as I understand.
So we have included some landscaping. There's very little landscaping removed. I think there's a very large kind of bush next to the existing house, which will probably be destroyed when they take down the house. So we have proposed, I believe, 3 or 4 street trees along the frontage, kind of near where the storage area is. So that would be the landscaping we'd be proposing, and then to maintain everything at the rear of the site.
I guess my only concern is that there's fairly significant set of criteria that are established for site landscaping in the town ordinance. And again, it indicates that for a residential commercial zone, a minimum of 15% is landscaped, particularly with reference to parking lots too, being screened. Have you seen that regulation?
I have, yeah. Yeah, I mean, certainly we have that landscape coverage, but then it's a matter of the nature of the landscaping. The area itself is set back quite a bit down from the road, probably 10 or 15 feet, so I don't believe it'll be overly visible. We thought the most appropriate spot for landscaping would be, again, along the road, just to try to break up that visual buffer, but obviously amenable to alternatives if the board had something in particular.
I think that, with respect to the house coming down, I mean, you're opening up a pretty large piece of that property, and I think you would be well advised to consider something to buffer that a little bit.
My hunch would be Avashon would be amenable to some additional street line landscaping and just to break up that sight line if that's the request.
How is that back parking lot being accessed? I can't really tell from the plan.
Oh, sure, yeah. So if you can picture the site, you pull in, much of the parking is along kind of the front of the building, tucked in between the road and the building. There's a little bit of a few parking spots and a loading area. If you take a right around the side of the building, it'll connect right up along there. So we're kind of opening up that driveway, and then it'll come just right if you're coming into the site, you take a right through and down. It's there's a bit of topo coming down, so you come down the middle of the driveway and then down into that area.
So I didn't really follow that.
Oh, sure.
But the plan I'm looking at here, C-301, looks like the parking is behind the building.
It's to the right of the building if you were looking at it from Main Street. So if you picture the existing house, it's behind that to the Avashon hardware.
What's this here? There's a parking lot behind the building as well.
Well, no, that's not, those are greenhouses. The building is to the right.
Yeah, but that's this here. That's the original overhang.
Right. This is the stuff they're building right now.
So it's not clear to us, I guess, that, is the intent to put greenhouses up, or is that only a possibility?
I think the intent is to put greenhouses up. They have one up right now, which is right kind of in the prime in front of the store. So they propose to reallocate that to parking and bring the greenhouse over to the new area and put up a new one. I think that's very much their intention.
Is anything going where the house is being taken down? What's replacing, I know you're taking the house out.
Oh, sure. Nothing is replacing it. We have pretty strict impervious coverage requirements through the shoreline regulations. They won't allow more than 30% on both lots combined, so this is the most we can do under NHDS shoreline requirements.
So that's why I was a little bit concerned about having some landscaping, relative to that house coming down.
But also, there's no, I mean, if you look at this, there's a driveway coming up through here, you have this.
But I think that's the existing drive.
Yep, the existing driveway will be
Yeah.
removed as well to the house.
The other question I have is the intent to use asphalt or just gravel?
Their initial intention is gravel, though we've suggested, and they've even suggested that it may be asphalt at some point just because of all the turning maneuvers out there. It might just hold up a little better. We, from a stormwater perspective, we designed it as asphalt because we thought that might be what they ultimately go with, but I think there is still a little up in the air. My hunch is they'll want to pave it just so it's tougher.
So will you be driving from the existing store over to these greenhouses?
Yeah, how do you access them? That was my question, is that?
Oh, sure. So I think they would have a small cash register out there. I think you could either walk over from the existing store if you were shopping there, or there are the parking spaces right there at the greenhouse that you would go through. We put a wood guardrail around them just to protect them from vehicles, but a few breaks inside of it so pedestrians or customers can get through and into the greenhouse area. But you would park and walk into it. They'd be just open on all sides, just a cover on the top.
So presently,
No.
Do you want me
this
to show
area
you?
here, you've got your parking and other stuff. And that's where stuff is stored and that's where your employee parking is. Where is that all gonna go? I really don't see any storage area here.
Yeah, sure. I think that'll be up to Abishon, their operations. So they do have some area around the outside of the greenhouse that they can store things. They could elect to one greenhouse and maybe use some of that area for storage. This will give them a lot more flexibility.
Hang on, there's two conversations
Oh,
going on.
sorry.
I can't take one, I can't hear one. So two is really gonna screw me up.
Sure.
All right, go ahead again.
Oh, sure, yeah. So I think there's some area around the outside of the greenhouses they might be able to use for storage. I know they store some things kind of in the lawn area, more on their existing parcel. They could also elect to just do one greenhouse and use some of the area for storage if that better serves their operations. I think we showed two because we think they might do that, but I think it's a lot of the intention is to give them some more flexibility in how they kind of operate in that area. So this would give them more space to store things. In more parking spaces.
Well, I mean, there's like that area beside the store there, it's kind of junky now.
I would really just kind of the hopes to better formalize and clean it up, so it's a usable area rather than just kind of testing cars parked over there and things like that. Also help them with their operations. The loading area as is right now, I'm not sure how the truck does it, but it must be a pretty tight move, so give them a little bit more room to load and operate kind of in that area.
And also the side of the hill, right? There's an elevation increase to get up there.
There's quite a bit of topo on that part of the parcel, so we'd be coming in more down low and flattening out a little bit, and then cutting up in the hill on the high side, so that it would be sitting quite a bit lower than the road, because we'd be flattening it out at the bottom of it.
You said lower than the road?
Yep, yeah,
So I can't tell.
it'll be about 10 feet lower than the road.
On C601, I can see the topo.
Yeah, the road's about elevation 540, and the pad itself will be about elevation 530, so it'll be about 10 feet set below the road.
So that first parking lot's on the side of the hill for this for that elevation map. Right, it's the parking lot that's, if you're looking toward the 3 trees you're putting in,
Yep.
from the back of the lot, and you're looking past the greenhouse, to the right of the greenhouse, it looks like you've got 2, 4, 6, 7 parking spots. But if you match that up with the elevation map, is that those parking spots coming up the hill?
No, so we're gonna have to flatten out the hill from the bottom coming across, and then if you see the topo, that's, I guess, between the greenhouses and the street trees, we'll have to cut the hill back up, so we're flattening it out and cutting it up.
Then there'll be a driveway from down there up top to the other parking
No,
spaces?
the driveway will connect, to the side of the Avashon, kind of where the loading area, or that junky area was before, so it won't connect up to Main Street at all, it'll just connect kind of to the side of Avashon.
The existing driveway better delineated.
Yeah, it's not the typical road.
No. I think it would really be beneficial if the existing driveway and parking areas were better delineated on the map than they are.
So we could hatch them and things like that.
Yeah.
But maybe it's a good question, right, about the vegetation.
Yeah, and it, it kind of falls back into that whole point that, as I understand the code, I read the code. Saying if you've got a parking lot with more than 10, spaces, that there is an obligation to have a definitive landscaping plan put together. All parking lots containing 10 or more parking spaces shall be required to be landscaped. And I just honestly don't feel that 3 trees, in light of the house coming down, is going to be sufficient for buffering.
Yeah, understood. Like I said, I think we'd be amenable to additional landscaping, particularly on that high side, to help mitigate that corner.
Is the boundary line being removed, is it going to become one lot?
I believe so, yeah, I believe that was one of the suggested conditions of presumptive approval, was that a lot consolidation application be filed. We did have that question, and it sounds like Jessica kind of clarified that if it's an accessory use, which it is, that they would want to combine.
Yeah, it would have to be combined.
They'd have to merge
Yeah,
them
because
anyway,
it's one site plan approval, so they couldn't ultimately keep them as independent lots.
Also, it's a little tough to tell from your maps, but where the greenhouse is going with the parking lot behind it, it looks like, I can't really tell how far that is. Is the river at the very edge of your lot?
Sure. So the delineated river is, you can see those little triangle flags, kind of the wetland line that comes not too far off our limit of work. That's the delineated shoreline based on the high water mark. If you're out there and you're looking at the river in the back, is quite a bit set back in the woods. Through the trees, there's a wetland area that goes down to the river, but when it was delineated, we delineated it as the annual high water mark, which I guess during a flooding condition or a big rainfall would be up high, kind of towards the edge of the woods back there.
The dashed line on the lot, the house is being removed, that's the high water mark of the river?
No, so if you're looking at the plan, the bottom of the plan, you'll see there's triangle flags and a line kind of connecting them through. Those two delineations are the wetland line delineation and the shoreline delineation.
Very thin.
But I'm probably beating the dead horse, right, because we already dealt with the water issue, or the runoff.
Stormwater, they have a stormwater, management plan from DES, correct? That's what you referred to?
And we have a shoreline permit.
Yeah, and the shoreline permit will be all info.
Thanks.
so the merger of the lots is that's under conditions precedent anyway.
So basically, this is a final major site plan review. But we're looking at this thinking, we need this, and we need this, and we need this. So it can't be too final. Because I'd like to see the parking lot. I can see the store faintly, but I can't really, I don't see the driveway coming in.
You can.
I don't see the greenhouse that's there now, that's probably gonna be removed and then become more parking. So there are some,
I can pull out a plan and highlight the item for you, or if you need an updated exhibit, we can do that too. No, clarify those.
please say.
Do you want to make a motion to continue?
You can make a motion to continue if you want. Yeah, the next one.
Yeah.
It's up to you guys.
Yeah, well, I think we'd like to continue it, but I also think we need to give them a list of, things, reasons why we're continuing. I mean, like I say, I think we need to know, about that greenhouse that's coming down. Is that gonna be pallets? Is that gonna be parking?
It's going to be parking. If you look at C301, we show new parking striping kind of in that area.
Okay, so but that's not any of, I mean, the parking spots that are there now are the ones that you have. So that would be additional parking when the greenhouse comes down.
Correct. Yeah, the 31 spaces like quoted.
So that should be on here. And then the other outlines of the parking lot should kind of be here as well, showing the route to these other spaces. Now, most of your existing parking area is asphalt. So is it going to be asphalt over to these, I think was there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 spots there now? Or are you going to go from asphalt to dirt?
Yep. Yeah, there's a line on the plan that delineates kind of the limit of proposed asphalt, proposed gravel. It's a dash line. If you'd like, I can pull out a plan and show you, or we could prepare like a colored exhibit if that would be helpful, just so it's obvious.
Yeah.
I guess to add to that, I'd still like to see this landscape plan added as well.
And the driveway between the two parking lots, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Well, and there, I don't know, maybe I didn't look far enough. Is there a lighting plan?
Alright,
Did I get hung up on parking lot and just the lighting plan?
And sure, we think that the Abishal contemplates putting a couple light poles in that area just to better light it. I think there's pretty minimal lighting out there now, so we were proposing just LV dark sky compliant, fully shielded and directed away from the roadway.
Where's the other things that cover?
the fire department asked to burn the house down?
Yeah, sure. And I did speak to Abishal about that. I don't think this is their exact quote, but they said it would be pretty cool. So I think they're pretty amenable to the idea of having them do an operation there.
It's close to Main Street.
Yeah.
Well, I make a motion that we continue this hearing and give them an opportunity to include it on
I'd like to ask for if public has anything first before you make that motion. Is that okay?
Sure.
Public have anything, any questions or any concerns?
Good evening. My name is Dennis Boucher. I'm the direct abutter to the property that you're talking about, 29 Main Street. Christine Sanborn's old house, so I might know that. But I just had a question about the fence. It sounds like Overshawn is going to go with that fence. And I was just curious what you were planning on doing with the fence, how tall it was going to be and how long, if you had any specifics.
Yeah, sure. So we call it always a 6-foot solid fence. So whether it's vinyl or wood, we were going to leave that up to Abhishan. I'm sure they'd be willing to discuss with you. And then as far as the limits of it, it was basically we ran it the entire limit of the proposed improvements, just the greenhouse, the parking, and everything coming down, and at the top of the hill.
Is it going to be like a vinyl fence or a stockade or?
We were going to leave it up to Abhishan unless there was a strong preference from others, but we specified just solid, like so not transparent, just run it solid.
That could be,
solid
I would offer that could be put in on the landscape plan and hopefully meet with the abutters approval.
Yeah, I can touch base with David after to see if he has a preference.
Yeah, I was just concerned about it because the magic word was mentioned a minute ago, junkie. And I can just picture all that on the property lines, and I just rather not see it, that's all. I mean, you can do what you want on the other side, but I'm just trying to clean up that whole area. And it just would be, after all that, to just see all that come down the property line wouldn't look all that great.
Yeah, I think they're very amenable to providing a fence and running it the entire length to kind of block that corridor.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Anything else from the public? Okay, I'll close public. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we continue this hearing, give Overshawn an opportunity to address the items that we would like to see on this plan.
Sure, and if I may, not to interrupt, the items I have is a landscaping plan in particular, look at the landscaping and beefing up where the house is coming out and landscaping in general, and then a plan that just better, I guess, reflects the proposed limits of pavement and asphalt gravel once everything's said and done, just so it's clear.
Yeah, so the greenhouse coming down, landscaping, definitive driveway to parking and lighting.
I'd really like to see the size, height, and length of that fence for the abutter.
And the fence, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so lighting, landscape, parking area,
Greenhouse.
greenhouse.
Yeah.
Well, they've got the greenhouse on there now.
Well, the other one that's coming down.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming they can take that down and create parking area, so then they would show the parking area, show the greenhouse coming down.
That's your motion?
Yeah, that's my motion.
I didn't capture that.
And certainly the planning department can hammer that out with them based on the discussion in the minutes.
Right.
With that clarity, I will second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks much, everybody.
All right. The next case this is for design review, case P24-32, to construct a wellness retreat wellness center. Norway Associates, Paul Blank, agent for Gen Floor, owner.
Oh, I have it. What's that? Oh, You can go ahead and set that up. The board's gonna go through completeness right now. Great.
No, this is design review.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. That
These
was
are just design
my
review,
bad.
so, yeah,
Okay.
it's actually, he goes first, so.
All right.
Yeah, we
I
don't.
had it going.
And we don't have the next meeting and vote on, so it's just for design.
Gotcha. Take a relax now.
Yeah, yeah.
Take that. Shall I have that for you?
I'll turn this around later so that I'll see. Here, I'll do it now. I don't want to anticipate anything. There you go. There you go. The gig is up. So would you like me to introduce myself?
Yes.
So I'm Paul
Yep.
Blanc with Norway Plains Associates. Jen's here, the applicant.
Jen Fleur.
Hi.
Applicant and owner. She would like us to talk a little bit about what she's envisioning for this, and then I'll kind of go through a little bit about the technical aspect of it, and then we did have a review. Thank you, Robin.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Jen Fleur. I'm the property owner. The project proposal is for a wellness center or wellness retreat. It has the business model of a day, kind of a day spa, all-inclusive amenities. So customers will come in and have access to sauna, steam room, hot tub, salt cave, yoga, meditation, massage, just for a day, no overnights. And yeah, just low volume, 10 to 12 customers at a time, and only daytime hours, 10 to 6. And yeah, really, that's it. It's on Avery Hill Road, and hoping that you all get excited about it.
Can you educate me on what a salt cave is?
Salt cave. I knew somebody was going to ask. So it's a medicinal, it's medical grade Himalayan salt. So you sit in a room that's designed to look like a cave, surrounded by salt bricks, and laying on a bed of salt, actual salt. So it's good for, well, first of all, it's super relaxing, which is my purpose. It's really relaxing. It's good for respiratory issues, skin issues, but it's just really relaxing. And you have the nice soft music playing and dim lights, and it's just, it's neat.
Capiche.
It's an experience.
I don't believe you've never done it.
You'll have to come and try.
So has this been to the ZBA?
Yes.
Because so I guess this is whole days of week and hours thing. Has that been ironed out? Well, it sounds, I don't know, it sounds as though.
Yep. 10 to 6, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Monday, and Sundays are 11 to 5. Yeah.
I'm reading
Yeah,
quickly
I
here, and I
have a note in
see
the
one thing says open 7 days, ZBA.
Well, in the future, again, to start, definitely not 5 days a week to start, 4 days in the winter. I'm thinking Friday through Monday, probably in the winter time, 5 days. But I'm hoping that I'll be busy enough that the demand is there, that in the future, in a couple of years, maybe I can be open for 7 days. But not in the beginning, for sure.
So the ZBA didn't limit it to 5 days?
No.
Has this been up for any other operations?
No.
No, because I know there was another one up there on Avery Hill before this. I guess it wasn't this one.
I'm trying to recall when you came in front of the zoning board. I'm kind of half remembering that one of the issues is the number of spaces, and it looks like this, you increased the number of.
The parking spaces, I believe we did since the original.
You did increase the number of parking spaces.
So the 17 reflects the increase? What?
Yes.
That's correct.
What was the original number that we kind of approved?
I can't even recall. It
I don't remember.
was maybe.
Small.
Yeah, it was. It was, and at that time, we made the plan just so we could get enough to get in front of the ZBA, to see if that would be accepted, and once we went there, we then went full throttle with the whole design.
Yeah, and I remember the further discussion, I'm sorry to go back.
That is-
Further discussion on that was that the 3 or 4 were gonna be adequate for the number of people that you thought would be going through there. But that's now changed?
No, the number of people has stayed the same.
The number of people, customers, all that?
Correct. Yeah, that hasn't changed. I believe we said 10 spots, which it was originally. It wasn't 3.
And that's the original one?
Yeah, I think it was 10.
Robin, you don't have to accelerate it through the first time, right?
We're looking at the file right now.
Did I not give you guys a copy of the NOD?
So here we go, this is the notice of decision, the findings.
Remind me of the hours, how they things open.
6 o'clock.
Yeah, like, so it will be open at dark.
What I have seen on the upstairs, it says there will only be in the findings, it says there will only be a sink and refrigerator, no kitchen type facility.
Correct.
On the actual plan itself of the upstairs, it looks like there's got a range and room for a refrigerator up there. Is there gonna be like?
I don't know what got in there.
No, not a kitchen, a small refrigerator. Maybe with a, not a stove, with
Oh, it's
a
right
hot
there.
plate.
Yeah, I did see it.
There's a warming plate maybe. And a refrigerator, that's it.
Yeah.
He's gonna go down this. You got that, okay. Thanks.
It looked like there was 17 spaces on that one too. It looks like I counted them.
TR 1, 2, and 3, is that treatment?
Yes, massage and reflexology.
That's why Roger keeps asking your hours are.
Instead of looking through it, I'm sure it's in there. How far off is the next house to the right of your plan?
Pretty far up the road.
Pretty far off?
Yeah,
Thanks.
it's up the hill quite a ways. Unfortunately, I don't have that. But yeah, it's up there quite a way. I mean, it's pretty wooded. I don't know if you've been up there, and it's pretty steep.
No boat we're talking about.
Yeah, it's dense.
It would be beneficial though to have something that better defines all the abutters and showing the properties.
So, a vicinity map that has kind of where the houses are located.
Correct. What's directly across from the property on Avery Hill? Is that developed?
Could you say that again?
What's directly across the property on Avery Hill Road? Is there another house there? or-
Land.
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 It's just land. You see that one house? If you look at the cover sheet,
Yeah,
it's got the 100 scale. You can see where the structures are. If you flip to the E1, you can see where that house is.
and that's the only residence in the direct area?
There's one, if you look just south, there's a house, existing house down there at the bottom of the page.
Lot 83, is that?
Lot, tax map 10, lot 6-8.
Okay.
Oh, I believe that existing house is a short.
How many acres is this lot?
We've had some issues.
2.74.
6144?
2.
Right here.
2.74.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, Okay.
This is Sunset Shores.
It would be totally cleared.
Oh,
I don't know why they didn't include
that's
that.
where the.
What was that?
The lot will be cleared?
No, as you see up here, so here in the dark green would remain wooded, and what you see in the lighter green would be grass, and then this down here is the reason that this is being, the trees would be removed there, eventually they would grow back, this is because of the stormwater management plan. That dictates that. If we didn't have to put a pond there, we wouldn't have to clear, but you need to do that to, retain it.
What's the white area beside the driveway?
Okay, because when you come up the driveway, this is quite steep, the slope, so this is riprap. And so they don't have to mow it, it's going to be so steep. They'll armor it with riprap, and that'll prevent erosion. The bottom of that will be a riprap lined swale on both sides. They'll carry the stormwater from there. So most of the stormwater will be directed down another riprap lined swale. See that twice a couple times, and then down into an infiltration basin. Your proposal there shows a detention basin. This morning I changed that to an infiltration basin, so you get the reduction of volume as well as reduction in rate as well to meet your ordinance. We do need to do test pits down there. This is design review, so we're just kind of getting your feel. We will do test pits down there to confirm the distance from seasonal water, high water, to the bottom of the practice, the stormwater management system. And then the 17 spaces, well, we're required to have 14. We have 17. And then we will design the on-site septic. We're ready to do that. We'll probably have that right here. It'll be under the parking lot will be the tank, and then the field will be out here. The well will be out here. So the radius will be out here, and that'll feed the building. All the utilities will be underground. In your review, we were talking about a sign, if you saw that. Jen was thinking about putting together a big boulder and etching it into a boulder, if that's acceptable. So, because the idea here is to make it look like a residential area, right? We don't want it to look like a commercial area. Inviting is the idea,
Exactly.
relaxing. So we want to keep as many trees as possible. We do understand that we have 17 spaces, so that would warrant some more trees, but it's so densely wooded out there. We do have a landscape plan, so we added some trees there, but it's way up on this hill, it's kind of far away. And just the nature of it, there will be some retaining walls, just the nature of the things, it will be step retaining walls. So we're going to put some small plantings there, junipers that'll, fall over and spill over the retaining walls.
Yeah, 6. No, it's 20. Isn't it? I think the max is 6 feet by 4 feet. If you don't, can I ask you a question just about that? Just to clarify on your map, that curve down at the bottom of the road, is that Sunset Shores Road that you're indicating there at the corner? You see at the bottom of Avery Hill on your map, you have a curve out?
Oh, yeah, the right of way.
Is that Sunset Shores Road? Just to orient the board, help them, that's Sunset, that's the intersection, the V at Sunset Shores and Avery Hill. It might be a good idea just to, for your final to
add that.
To add the notation of where Sunset Shore, because it's a good orientation point for the board to see where that is, especially if you drive by it.
You mentioned there was landscaping plan, I don't see it in the package.
Yeah, I just noticed that wasn't provided.
Okay.
We did, if you look at the cover, it's an L2 sheet, and I just opened it and I said, geez, we didn't provide, we did do lighting, we did do landscaping, but the landscaping calls out what type of trees and shrubs. You can kind of see them here. We put some around the building, here, and right here, because this is kind of when you're coming up, and then there's a big tree right here.
Because again, parking lots are supposed to be buffered, and you've got pretty extensive wooded area.
Yeah, I mean, you got from here to here. I mean, this is all thick. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
What about on the other side there of this?
Up here?
Well, at the foot of the stone there. Where it's dark green. How much of a border is that there?
From...
No, not there. To the right. Yep, that there.
Oh, geez, the house is way up here.
The next door?
Yeah, it's way up here. In the drainage analysis, did you have the drainage report here?
I do have.
Okay,
But
that
it's
actually,
huge.
yeah, this one's a small one, luckily. This will show that, because I need to include that, because the stormwater watershed actually goes up the hill, so I have to account for that. I'll pass this out, but we're down here. That house is way up here. So I'm gonna just kind of, since you're, bring this over to me, you can pass it around. So, we're here. Yeah. This is all forested. The next house is way up here, to give you an idea.
So this house owns all this land.
That's correct. That's correct.
So this is all wood.
It's all wooded, and then it's the steep hill here. Thank you.
No problem.
I'll put that back there for you.
Oh, that's okay, don't worry.
Light reading?
This,
Pass it.
Well, pass it right back around.
I got it.
You got it? We did do a lighting plan that was done by Sharon Lighting. The type of lighting, we kind of want to keep it kind of rural, so it's kind of this New England traditional look. It'd be black. That's on L1. So we did do that. That was analyzed. It will be dark sky compliant. So it doesn't spill over to the neighbors. The idea is, again, inviting kind of low key.
Do you have? Oh,
Oh,
yeah, that's it.
That's 36 inches, 38 inches.
This is 30. Yeah,
That's
38.
a big one.
That's away from the
Right, it's gonna be on
area.
post, yeah, that's, and it's gonna be on post too, like streetlights.
Like the ones on the front of the town hall.
Yes.
Oh,
There it is. It's on the back page.
I got it. Did you happen to do anything in regards to the traffic study or anything like that at this point?
I mean, it's minimal, so didn't do any traffic. So I did do a sight line, which you don't see here. I just did check it to make sure that it complies, and it does. That's why I chose the location of the driveway there.
there's another observation, the driveway entrance, pretty steep grade going in.
It is
First-
steep, and that's why the driveway is lined with the riprap, so to control erosion. And I think the DPW did do a review, or at least looked at it, because we're going to be adding, just because of the water coming down here, we'll be adding a catch basin, and it'll be a 24-inch pipe. Yeah, because with this storm intensities, which I sized it's for the 50-year storm event, and then that would come down here, just for the water that's coming down here. So it has the cover. So that's a 15% grade
Yep.
coming down there. We added another catch basin here, so the water will basically come off. This is curved, hits a catch basin down here, then sends it down into the,
Detention, yep.
into the infiltration, which again I changed today. Snow storage is here, so you come up and you plow. pretty straightforward. All trash will be inside and then taken off-site. The wetlands were delineated in 2021 by Jessica Bailey Associates. Down here, we're not impacting them. ADA accessible through here, through the ramp. 5 lights to keep it minimal, like you saw in that lighting plan.
So just to clarify for the board.
Yep.
So everything that you have now with your drainage plan, all the watershed is going to be dealt with and handled on the lot itself and not shed into any bordering lots or the town right of way, correct?
So how the water runs now is it kind of splits this up into 2. There's a draw right here, as you can see, because that's the wetlands.
Sure.
And then it kind of splits, and it naturally comes down and ends out here. That's what so that we're basically taking this, developing it, capturing it, directing it, using the same bottom location. This point here, this analysis point, what we did is design it so it has receiving the same rate and the same volume. So the amount that gets there and the time in which it gets there. And that's through that infiltration basin there.
Okay. So the area, the outlet that you're pointing to there, is that a cross culvert for the town?
This is actually right down here. It's like it's a stone wall. It's just the water's been going through down here. And this is a swale or a ditch on the side of the road that's been there.
Okay. So if you want to look at that a little bit further with the issue of if there's nothing to catch the water, if it's just a swale.
Exactly.
Right.
I can also
add
I can
that?
also add that, but also have
And,
confer with Seth, with the department DPW director as well.
Yep.
Just in case the 50-year storm is a 100-year storm.
Right, absolutely. I just know I raised that up for the board, and of course, I've mentioned, those of you mostly aware of that. That area was dramatically hit during the floods last year, and I know that there's going to be a lot of concern in the area just about shedding and water. And so just because of that grade coming down, where right at Alton Shores, there's a bunch of cross culverts there and issues. So, I mean, obviously your stormwater plan is very thorough and vetted by the state. The concern is just how it's going to be handled once it hits the town right of way, because we lost so much road there back in July.
Yeah.
Not at that particular point, further down the road.
Further down the road.
And further up the road on both sides, we lost areas of the road significantly, so we just.
So that's why we were concerned. That's why I used the 24-inch and then I wrapped up. So that is a major concern. That's why I got this long armored along this swell. So we'd reshape that and then put in big stone again. So this will all be armored here. This is all armored too. What you're concerned about down here?
Yeah, just because I know that area of the road leading up to Alton Shores Road is quite a pitch going down, so everything
So the
funnels right down.
velocities go up. Yep.
Yep.
Did they? I haven't been up right in that area. Did they re-armor any of that, or did they to the ditches?
Yeah, we've been repairing it all year. Yeah, so we just finished the last part of the FEMA repairs. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, they're due by September 15th, so after all that road damage.
cutting it close.
Yeah. $700,000 later. But it's more based on the design review stuff for the board to consider, but also for us I can get in contact with the DPW director too and make sure that he's on board with all of the precautions that are being taken. And I'm sure with some discussion, there's not going to be a problem with that.
And that kind of leads us up to the next one of the items that was about third-party review. Would this go up to third-party review?
Yes, based on our policies and an ordinance for a site plan review like this, that it goes out to one of our 2 contracted engineering. So in this particular one, We looked at this ahead of time, but, this one would be assigned to KV Partners.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we dealt with it before.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have an estimated overall height of the building itself?
Less than 35 feet. I'm not really sure. I haven't really looked at the architect. It's a two-story building, so I would expect if you got, let's use 9 and a little over, so 18, 19 at the low point where you're entering the garage.
Did you just say garage?
Yeah, there's a drive under. That was one of the items that Jen would like, so.
Let's see.
Yeah, I was trying to look in the basement.
So the garage is, just to, as you're coming up into the site, this right here, its dimension is 24, the garage is right in there. So you pull right into there, just to help you orientate yourself. So that's the low point that makes it easiest. As you come up, you're still climbing up the hill at 2% grade, just so it's ADA compliant. And then that's why we have the ramp here. You come through up into the building.
So that basement's gonna be the overall dimensions of the whole first floor?
The foundation, this outline here, yes. Yep.
Has a sprinkler system been designed, or is it?
No.
Okay.
You guys all set?
What is the, what's on the exterior?
For siding?
Pardon me? If you could speak up.
Exterior siding?
What type of siding?
Is that T11 or?
I'm not sure about any of that type of detail. But when the architect comes here for site plan review, I'm sure she could answer that. I would imagine so, but I can't speak to that at this point. There will be a guardrail protecting, that'll encompass the parking lot. There'll also be curb, bituminous curving.
One going up that driveway as well?
So the guardrail will start here and go up here. Are you suggesting that we?
Yeah, didn't you say it was pretty steep?
It is steep.
I would think they want something there.
For your own benefit, no?
I don't know as I don't know as I would think highway guardrail. I would think something more, on the lines of.
Stone or something.
Right now we spec'd out actually a highway
Wood,
grade
just-
for here. But yeah, we could look into something that's more, again, design review or, but yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. Make it look more not such like a highway, right?
Less like a highway.
Less like a highway.
Safety,
Sorry.
that grade falling off on that left side of the driveway going out.
Yeah.
Winter, yeah.
So Robin did put together a thorough review. All these comments we can address by the next middle date, which I believe is in a week.
Take time, like.
Get it done. Like that. Non-stop work, right?
Does anybody get anything else?
Open it to the public.
Yeah. we're gonna right now. Okay, I'll open the public. Any questions? Seeing none, all right, I'll close public. And we're all set, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Do you know where the site, where the map was, planned for the zoning?
Everybody's gonna run to the salt cave. I can see
Yeah,
it.
got passed down somewhere,
What did?
The zoning plan,
the zoning plan.
maybe Mark has it. Hey, Mark, do you have that zoning plan still?
He gave me the one that I had. You want, you can have that if you want.
Did I give it back to you already? Are you sure? Yep. Oh, did you? I think it's this.
Yeah, this one.
Oh, no, not the form, we're looking for the actual plan. You have the plans.
Oh, now. Well, it couldn't have gone far, I mean.
Unless I do have it.
Oh,
Never
she
mind.
does.
Oh, alright.
Never mind.
Robin had it.
Okay, alright, so that's it.
Just trying to figure out.
Okay. Next up is case number P24-34 for design review. Wilcox and Barton, architects for Cronin, Bisson, and Zelinski, PC agents for the Lakes Hospitality Group. Jeremy Martin. This is for Cherry Valley Road.
Give Cindy a moment to get set up.
Sure. Oh, I'm sorry. Sure.
Do you want to try to pull it a bit closer? I can clear the room for you.
I don't know if you guys want to crane your necks behind you, or we have a board as well, so.
Okay. Whether you want to watch that or you want to follow on the plans. That's the same as the plans.
I also have colored plans if
Oh,
you're
okay.
interested in having
Sure.
them.
Sure. Thank you. I'll keep one for us in the file.
Okay, thanks.
All set to go?
Yep.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. Heath, Ms. McLean. My name is John Cronin. I'm an attorney from Manchester here to represent the applicant. With me is Cindy Theriot, a project engineer from Wilcox and Martin, who has done the work you're going to review this evening. Also with us in the audience tonight is Amy Grimm. She's the principal of this particular project and owner of the land. Chris Salmon, a project team member who's been working with us on design features, and Jeremy Martin, also a principal. Just to give you a little bit of background, I don't think it's any secret that this particular piece of land came before the ZBA recently for the Glass Barn project. Anyone in town certainly saw the many signs and the flying planes that indicated opposition to that project. After a failed effort through the ZBA and reanalysis of the project, which Amy described as a passion project, it was really difficult for her to see the opposition and some of the gaslighting issues and to make a commitment to spend that kind of money, which It's going to be a first-class development, roughly, with $50 to $70 million of investment and a huge tax liability every year for something people didn't want. People were so strongly opposed to. So she kind of went back to the drawing board and said, I purchased this property in December of 22. It's 140 acres on 2 lots about. She does not want to have a fight. She does not want to be in court. She would like to go through an orderly process, work with the town officials, and get a project approved. So talking with team members, she went back, looked at regulations and said, we have 2 lots at the top of the hill with panoramic views. They're beautiful, and a very rural setting with nice natural features that would be wonderful, a place for people to live. So Cindy and her team designed this residential subdivision, which has 19 lots. You see the 2 cul-de-sacs and a driveway, 2 driveways leading up to the peak. Before I go any further, I want to thank Ms. McLean, Mr. Heath, and the Public Works Director for taking time out of their busy schedules to work with us and offer some constructive commentary that was very helpful. We know there'll be a lot more of that to go before we get to a final application, but it was a good start, and we appreciated the cooperation and the cordial input. Looking at it off of Cherry Valley Road, you see the entrance. It slopes down a little bit and approaches the stream or the river there, which there's currently a wooden bridge that's been probably constructed for forestry purposes long ago. The plan calls for developing a beautiful entrance there at the front, doing a covered bridge. And I'm going to try and address some of the comments both in the staff report and some of the other paperwork that's been received. And I'm sure you'll have additional questions, but maybe I can head them off. Public Works Director raised some concerns about the covered bridge, legitimate ones, both to the size of plow vehicles and maybe service and emergency vehicles that might need to cross that bridge. We had some discussion about whether that entrance road would be public or private. So just to make it clear for the record, the roadway would be a private road. We have some flexibility with the design dimensions relative to the covered bridge, and certainly we'll work with the Public Works Director so there's adequate room for any type of vehicle that may need to pass through that area, and certainly we'll have to meet all construction other standards for that to go in. But that's a critical and important feature that Amy has wanted since the beginning. You can see the lots that are configured. That's on the side of the hill. It slopes up to the peak. There's the cul-de-sac at the top with the driveways leading up. The regulations call for separate driveways, so both lot 1 and 2 have separate drives. Maybe a better way to do it as we get through the design process, either through waivers or some other relief, but the goal here was to try and design something that needs the least amount of waiver support and as close as possible to meet your regulations. The Conservation Commission filed a report. We reviewed that. They seem to be more concerned about timing, which is always good, and erosion control for an extended construction project. The plan here, with hope, would be to get construction started next spring, and the goal would be to build the entirety of the road system. So those improvements that you see, the road, the cul-de-sacs going up to the hill. So there won't be an extended duration because lot 1 up on the top left would be probably the first house to be built. So you might as well get the infrastructure done. Relative to the design of the homes, be custom for lots of this type and kind. Someone will come in, have an idea, have a dream, want to have something built, work with Amy and Jeremy to see if they can do it and make it work for everybody. With respect to the road design, Cindy and her team worked through different layouts to make that work. Again, there may be some easier ways to do it that might need some waivers, but for the first draft, she wanted to do it as close to the regulations as she could. There's also been some suggestion, and we certainly appreciate all the constructive comment, criticism we can receive. The misinformation, we've been through it once, we don't want to go through it again. I saw that there was a letter submitted today. I had a chance to review it from Mr. Gentleman here, certainly a licensed engineer. I recognized he's hired by an abutter to do a job, Those comments that he has on lot size and design is all great, but suggestions of personal misconduct of Ms. Grimm and others, we're not going to tolerate that. So to the extent you can prove it and you have personal knowledge of it, I'd like to hear about it. If not, I'd invite you to withdraw your letter. There's been nothing wrong done by Amy Grimm or Jeremy, no invasion, nothing that violates any DES regulations. In fact, at the DES, just before, we received a letter from the DES acknowledging a complaint from someone about violations of DES regulations, very similar to the allegations in this report. We insisted that DES come to the site and to tour it. And Ms. Jen Drosiak from DES and her colleagues came and hiked the entire parcel and issued a letter saying there was absolutely no violations. So I just want to take that off the table for now. As far as utilities, these lots will be serviced by well and septic. Jeremy has been talking to the electric service company, which would be brought in from the street from Cherry Valley to service these particular lots. And the prior application, we did have some traffic analysis done for the glass barn, which would be a higher generator, at least at peak times, certainly compared to a residential development. Some of these homes may be occupied year-round. People may make their permanent home. Others may have it as a second or vacation home. Hard to tell. But certainly the traffic from a residential subdivision of this nature would be significantly less than the glass barn project that was proposed. And that traffic was satisfactory with the state highway, Cherry Valley. There was discussions up with DOT, and they had no issues with the traffic. So that's an issue that appears to be resolved. There were some indications with lighting. We know when we get to building permits and things like that, construction is going to have to meet all of your building code applications and specifications. In discussions with the fire chief, there's 2 cisterns that are proposed at this particular time that seem to be acceptable to the fire department. We'll continue to work with them to get a complete design on that to provide the required fire safety service. I'm going to turn it over for a moment to Cindy, just have her give you a general overview of her design, the roadway network, and how she laid it out.
Sure, thank you. Cindy Terrio with Robust Environment. We laid out the road, as you can see from our plan here. Cherry Valley Road is the white space, the white curve at the bottom. There will be one entrance from Cherry Valley Road to service the 19 individual lots. The proposal is to produce 2 private roads. The long road that goes up in the middle of the lot is 2,500 feet, which meets the regulations. The one that goes off the left, which we've identified as Lily Lane, is 800, I believe, 800 and change. Each ends at a cul-de-sac that meets the road, the town road standards, and currently the roads, both of them are designed to meet town standards. As we go through the design process, presumably working with a review engineer, we may request a waiver. There's a better way from an environmental standpoint. There may be a better way from an environmental standpoint to request a waiver and have less impact to the land, which I know Ms. Grimm prefers. As Attorney Cronin said, there's a proposal is for a bridge, a covered bridge to cross Alton Brook. Each lot is served by its own individual driveway, and it meets the minimum acreage and the minimum dimensional requirements of the zoning ordinance. In addition, stormwater management. What our design shows is that stormwater will be handled as near as possible to where the impervious areas are, to smaller. I believe right now we're at 33 individual places where we're treating and infiltrating stormwater on the project. Those are not shown on this plan, but they're sprinkled throughout the land. As Attorney Cronin mentioned, we do have a approved driveway permit for the previous project. We've also requested that the DOT review this as a residential project, so that is pending as well. We'll submit that to the town once we receive it.
Pretty much it. With respect to the staff report, there's a number of, say, administrative issues. There's a call out on 2 lots, Lot 8 and Lot 18, with some encroachment onto some wetland buffers. We acknowledge that. We're going to take a look at that, and that can be revised to make sure that complies. We also have some issues with, I think, some typographical misspellings of some of the abutters. Appears that property was conveyed to trust at one point or another, and we need to verify that those abutters' names are accurate and correct. So we'll attend to all of those issues that are detailed in the staff report. We're happy to take any questions you may have.
You mentioned that the Conservation Committee is interested in getting moving on this quickly.
No, I said the Conservation Commission had filed a report and said that they were concerned about the duration of the, I think, the road work and what was going to happen for erosion control. I think when we filed it initially, we talked about a phased project, and I think in a technical sense, it's not a phase where you do 200 feet of road and 2 houses, 200 more feet. The entire road will be built at once, so the erosion control will be in place, and then the soils will be stabilized according to best practices. So it's not going to be one of these long, drawn-out projects. And that's how I interpreted the Conservation Commission's note that they had filed, saying worried about duration of the project and erosion control.
Could you elaborate a little more on the phased construction plan?
Yes, as far as the phased construction, the initial step, of course, would be to build the entrance and the bridge and the roads. And the first home would be the home up on Lot 1. That would set the stage for the development, we hope. It would likely be a larger home, consistent with its location and its views. And we would hope that that would kind of be the calling card for others to become interested in the other lots.
It might be detailed in many pages, but, so I'll just ask, I don't have to go look at it. This bridge, what's the span? Is it concrete with a roof? Is it a quaint wooden bridge? What is the bridge?
Sure, it's currently designed as a 50-foot span to span across the wetlands, essentially, on the up, and so you have an abutment on the lower wetland, and not on the wetland, but on the uplands, and then on the upper piece. And the width of it, we have 2 designs. We have one for a 20-foot width and one for a 24-foot width. And then the upper portion of it would be wood.
Okay, so the lower, it's not a wooden...
Concrete.
Concrete.
Yeah, concrete base.
Can I ask a question, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman?
Yes.
Just to follow up on the covered bridge, because I know we spoke about it and the Public Works Director was a little concerned, only because of, from a maintenance standpoint, things. We understand that, and I think the board caught that it's being proposed right now as private, but the main part of that road, the town is going to have to, the board's going to have to make sure it's built to town spec in case we ever were to have to take it over down the road. We just have to work and plan that way. It still has to be built to town standards. So I just want to confirm, I think what you just said was that, one of the comments that the Public Works Director had made to me is the concern that the construction of the bridge is so that the deck portion could be separated from the walls and the roof, meaning that the wood, decorative portions of it, if ever had to down the road, could be removed and it would not affect the deck. The deck would still be, the concrete portion spanning the wetlands wouldn't be affected. I just want to, I know we haven't seen the exact plans for the bridge, but that's just something to think about when you're designing that, to making sure that it's sort of not contingent upon one another so that the whole thing would have to be replaced. The other thing that surfaced since, and this is since our meeting, a note that when you start looking at the utilities, so at a Board of Selectmen meeting recently, the board had concerns and raised questions to me about the New Hampshire Co-op. I'm not sure, is this being serviced by the co-op in that area? Yep. And the concern is that there's several residential neighborhoods that have been built up in Alton. Mind you, these are not serviced by a state road, so I'm not sure whether there's three-phase power at 11A or not. But throwing it out there is the concern is that some of those areas were underpowered, and when new developments went in, we ended up having a number of power outages in smaller neighborhoods because they couldn't handle the additional load. It's just something when you start doing the design plan with the co-op, obviously they're going to know all of this stuff. That making sure that that the lines coming in feeding that development obviously wouldn't. I'm sure the abutters and other neighbors would be concerned to that effect as well. So, and like I said, this surfaced at a meeting shortly after we sat down and met. So, I thought it was pertinent to bring up and just make sure that we cross that.
And it actually could be the same for the cable company, like TDS. Because recently, I've added some buildings to my property, and they can't service them because they don't have enough power. They don't have enough lines. So on TDS, you may want to inquire on whether or not the cable companies as well can get up there. It sounds kind of ridiculous, but that's what they're telling me, that they don't have enough fiber to service the extra houses.
These utilities, will they be underground or on pole?
Currently proposed for underground.
Okay.
Is this gated access?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Is this gated access?
Gated, it will be gated, yes.
Open gate?
Key card, I think is what we talked about. So it'll be like Grass Point, and there's one in there, but it's basically just an arm.
You indicated that the main drive-in, well, it's private, it's about 2,500 feet to the cul-de-sac or the turnaround?
Correct.
The other observation would be for the two houses on the large properties. That's a pretty large private driveway, and whether you can service those with winter conditions, I would offer that those driveways look pretty narrow for the length of those properties.
Actually, so the reason they look narrow, they're actually also proposed to be 20 feet wide.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. They look narrow because we're not showing the right of way. And the main road, the Eagle View shows the right of way, so it looks wider, but the drive up to the top is a 20-foot paved surface with 2-foot shoulders.
Okay.
You're ready at some point.
Yeah, did you want to? Yeah.
Unless there's any other questions.
You guys got any other questions? So we do have to go over a checklist for regional impact when it comes to a new development. And I'll let you
go ahead.
Yep.
Okay. So this checklist came from Lakes Region. No, I can't think of the name of it.
It's the Planning Commission.
Yeah, the Planning Commission. I'm sorry. I lost it for a minute there. So based on the RSA's governing regional impact, the board or the first land use body hearing a development, the first has to at least address regional impact. This was a checklist and a criteria that they sent over, and I thought it'd be best just to hit each line with the board and let the board make a decision whether or not these particular areas are impacted. So the first one is school impacts. Will the development create significant new student population affecting a regional school district? I think the answer to that, unless somebody thinks otherwise, would be no, because we don't have a regional school district. I mean, we share our high school with Barnstead, but it's not on that side of the town. The next one would be traffic generation. Will the development cause an increase in traffic that will diminish the capacity or safety of the road system in the adjacent municipality or potentially affect regional traffic patterns?
I would say no on that one again, especially where he's in gun stock on that road. That road's traveled.
Correct.
All right. So the consensus of the board is no on that one?
Okay.
Agreed.
Okay.
Now this property is on the Guilford line, so this impact would impact Guilford too, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So building size, will proposed buildings or number of dwelling units impact neighborhoods or areas in the neighboring municipality?
No, from my perspective.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, the basic, the places in the woods, it's not.
Could I step back to this for a second?
Sure. Marshall?
On the, could you remind me, folks, how far off of Route 11 was this? And what's across the street from where your driveway is?
It's actually 11A, but.
It's from 11A, I know, I'm trying to figure out how far up from 11 it is. And if you come out your driveway, what's across? Is that the
Laura Lane, I think is what it's
is
called.
that the road that goes?
Laura Lane? Yeah.
Laura Lane, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know where that is?
I do.
Okay.
And how far up 11 is that roughly? It's pretty far, more than a quarter mile.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I'm good, let's keep going.
So we left off on number 3 with the proposed building or number of dwellings units impact neighborhoods or areas in the neighboring municipality.
No, from my standpoint.
I'm hearing the consensus is no on that one.
Yeah.
Number 4 is visual impacts. Will the development create visual impacts to neighboring municipalities such as light pollution or glare, visibility of structures, adverse impact on scenic vistas?
Well, there could be visibility of structures, but you have that all over the place. I mean, that's nothing to.
Well, how much of this can you see from Cherry Valley Road, or will you be able to? Like in the front, is it all wooded?
Currently, yes, currently the front up into, the brook is wooded and there's an open space there. And you can see where it's cleared sort of around where the, first house is. There's a proposal for one house on this side of the brook. And then all the rest of them will be, that's 500-600 feet into the property.
Okay.
So most of these will not be visible from Cherry Valley Road.
That's correct, possibly one of the homes.
Will they be visible from the lake?
Well, the two on the top will be visible from the lake, most likely. You can see the top of the hill from the lake now.
But again, I see that as minimal, so it'd be a no from my standpoint.
I wouldn't say it'd be an impact, but.
Nothing more than already exists.
Right. I mean, a hospital might be everybody. So I would say no on that one.
Anybody else? Everyone okay with no?
All right. Hearing the consensus is no, we'll move on to 5. 5 is pollution. Does the development propose the operation of a facility or business that would generate excessive air pollution, wastewater discharge, noise, or hazardous waste transport? I think obviously the answer to that one would be no.
It's a no. Yeah.
Number 6 is surface or groundwater impacts. Will the development occur on or adjacent to known aquifers or surface waters that transcend municipal boundaries? I think that one you may want to consider as a yes, because I believe that stream crosses the Guilford boundary. Correct? I just wanted to make sure.
Right?
So,
That's a yes, right?
Yeah.
Yes, for
Yeah.
the first one, that one has,
First one.
that one has 3 sublines,
Right.
apologize. So also part of 6, will the development require a major impact wetland permit from New Hampshire DES? Guess I will defer to you on that one, is there a major?
Currently, it does not require a major impact. It requires a wetland permit, but it's a minor impact.
So that's a no?
That's a no. I didn't believe it did, but I wanted to verify with you. Does the project involve permitting of a large groundwater withdrawal? Yeah. I don't believe, it's all traditional wells.
It does not, there'll be 19 individual wells.
Okay. Next one is, will the development cause negative impacts to another municipality's water supply? No, it's not on municipal water. Okay, number 7 is conservation lands. Does the development abut existing conservation lands or existing farmland such that coordination between municipalities could lead to the creation or preservation of greenways, wildlife habitat areas, or prevent fragmentation of forests, farms, or other conservation lands? I wasn't aware of anything that was submitted. Is there any conservation easements or bordering conservation lands that you're aware of?
So that's a no?
That's a no?
I don't believe there's any farmlands or anything else in that. It's mostly all wooded area. It's abutted.
Can you say something about the abutters in terms of the existing lands that abut the property?
They're all residential, single-family residential lots surrounding all 4 sides across the street.
All right, so conservation list, number 7's a no.
No.
Okay.
Number 8 is economic impacts. Does the development propose the creation of business or industry that would significantly impact regional economic development? We say that would be a no because we're not talking about a business or industry. Number 9 is emergency response. Does the proposal create a significant increased demand for emergency services response, including mutual aid from neighboring municipalities? So I guess the question for the board is, this will be from a mutual aid standpoint, because it borders Guilford, and our departments, have to share resources. Mutual aid is a real issue in any part of a bordering town. I mean, a bordering area in that side of town, just like Wolfboro is on the other side of town.
Yeah.
So there is a mutual aid burden on that, but is it?
Does it change a significant increased demand?
That's the main question for you guys to answer.
Would the emergency response be split between Guilford and Alton?
Yes, most of the time the way emergency response from both ends, whether it be fire, rescue, or police, you're going to end up, if it's right on the line like that, they're going to end up calling the primary jurisdiction and backup.
So if there's 19 units, are you talking 10 each?
What do you mean 10?
Well,
what do
I'm
you
just
mean by
saying,
10?
like, if it's dual, to divide it,
I
right?
don't think it's going to be material, if there's an emergency
No, it's
requirement, both towns are going to get called.
Right, but what I'm saying is the amount of dwellings that you're talking about.
How many houses do we have in town?
Total structures? Oh.
Occupied houses.
Off the top of my head, I probably. I honestly don't. The only thing I've ever looked up recently was how many occupied structures are on the islands.
It's in the front of the master plan, but it's over 1,000, as I recall, right?
Oh, yes, you mean occupied residence? Oh, yeah, significantly over that. Well, let's put it this way, the co-op, I just looked at this because of the issues with the co-op that were raised recently by the Board of Selectmen, that the co-op services 48 or 4,900 residences in the town of Alton.
I thought that's residences on population.
No, that's residences. Because they only count their service points. So that means that's how many service points they have in the town of Alton. If you look up the outage map or anything like that, it tells you how many people are serviced.
So
or how many.
In terms of impact for emergency response, it would be 19 out of 5,000 plus, right? So it's minimal.
Again, even on Cherry Valley Road, I regard it as minimal. So I'd say a no.
No. Yeah, especially from 2 towns.
Okay. Hearing consensus no, we'll move to number 10. Historic or cultural resources. Will the proposed development have negative impacts on historic or cultural resources that may have significance regionally? I'm not aware of any historical or cultural resources.
Yeah, the mountain's not there, so.
Is there anything that would play into that? Not that I'm aware of. Okay.
That's a no.
And then number 11 is other. Does the development create other regional impacts not listed above? And I guess I would offer up to the board that we have gone through the checklist, but it is definitely the purview of the board to reserve judgment until after we hear from the public.
Yep.
Just because of number 11 has other, and if the public decides they want to raise something the board wants to consider, then you can do that at that time.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, may I just make a comment on the regional impact?
Sure.
Typically, the regional impact is important when there's no budding land owned by the municipality. Here, it's kind of circular because the town of Guilford is getting noticed anyway as an abutter, and they'll have standing as a abutter. And that section of the statute is to give a non-abutter, a town, that will have impact standing as an abutter, which they already have. For the record, for the Glass Barn project, we met with Mr. Ayer, the planning director in Guilford. There was, a lot of signage and things, interest. We sat down with him and showed him that plan. He's generally aware of what's going on. We'll make sure he gets a look at this plan, whether it's regional impact or not, just so he knows.
Okay.
Can I just, like to better understand the first sentence there, findings of yes of one or more of the items below indicate the need for a local land use board. That's us, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
So we're already here, we're already looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're mentioning, no, that's the statutory requirements that the first time it's reviewed or brought forward, whether it's be through the building inspector or to a regional land use board, or a municipal land use board, that it needs to be addressed and discussed.
Okay.
And the other thing I just note, that Lakes Region Planning Commission was notified as part of the butter list for this as well. Okay. This is how we ended up with the conversation and the checklist.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. I'll open it to public. Go ahead, sir.
May I take a seat at the table and put a presentation up?
Yeah, sure. Could you state your name, sir?
Yes, I'm Rob Miller. I'm from Sheehan Finney. I'm an attorney from Sheehan Finney, representing tonight Rick and Judy Casale, who are in the front row there. They are abutters to the property. Okay. I'm not sure why this is not coming. Oh, there we go. So first, what I would like to do is ask the board if you all have copies of the reference letter from Rick Chelman, which looks like this. It has TND Engineering at the top of it. Mr. Chelman had an emergency tonight and was not able to attend. but he is our expert on this matter, and he and I are working together with Rick and Judy Casale, and so I'd like to bring a few issues from Mr. Chelman's letter to the board's attention as the interest of the Casales in having you know about it, okay? So there are two issues, and I'm gonna put a few slides up that are in the letter just so that everybody can see them, but two issues that we're principally concerned with. The first involve slopes, wetlands, and the buildability of these parcels as directed by your ordinance and your site plan regulations. And the second is prior unpermitted activity that has caused erosion and sedimentation on the property. And I want to address Mr. Cronin's comments at the outset. John and I have known each other for a long time, and we both do this work regularly. We both deal with highly emotional cases, and he and I are not going to get that way in front of this board or any other board in this town. We're both interested in having the regulations followed and seeing the project evaluated fairly. That's what we're here to do. So my comments should be received in that vein, and I hope they will be. The issue that we have on slopes, wetlands, and buildability is that 14 of the 19 proposed lots, based on Mr. Chelman's analysis, fail at least one section of your ordinance or your site plan regulations, and I'm going to get into why in a minute. In the rural zone, there's a 2-acre minimum lot size, and there is a 2-step requirement for the permitting of these lots. The first, in section 452A, says that the minimum required lot area will exclude steep slopes, wetlands, and roadways. In other words, when you're evaluating the 2-acre minimum size, you cannot take into account any acreage that involves steep slopes of greater than 25% or designated wetlands or roadways. The second, which is section 452D of the ordinance, states that all lots created after March 2007 have to have a minimum buildable area made up of contiguous upland and slopes of not greater than 25% that constitute no less than 75% of the minimum lot requirement for the zone. So that's a mouthful. What does that mean? That means that in order to satisfy the requirements of 452D, there has to be 1.5 acres of contiguous upland and land under a 25% grade for each proposed lot. That analytical requirement is absent from the plans as proposed, as far as we can tell. 9 of the lots that are shown on the plans don't comply with those requirements based on Mr. Chelman's analysis. Those lots are Lot 18, Lot 20-1, Lot 20-2, Lot 20-3, Lot 20-7, 20-12, 20-14, 20-15, and 20-18. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put up a slide and take the board through Mr. Chelman's analysis of one of these parcels. Here we go. This is on page 3 of his letter. So on the left in figure 2 is lot 20.2 as shown on sheet C7-4 with the description of total lot area, total wetlands, steep slopes, and what is described as contiguous area expressed as a percentage. And you see there it says contiguous area 73.6%. when you do the math and add commas for readability, you have a lot area of 154,312 square feet. But when you take out the wetlands of 90,719 square feet and 31,228 square feet of steep slopes, that yields 113,365 square feet. When you take that number, right, that's the number of the section A of the ordinance. When you take that number and divide it by the total lot area of 154,312 square feet, what you get is 73.5% shown on the plan sheet. That's not contiguous buildable area, that's a summation of all of the non-contiguous and contiguous white areas shown on lot 20-2. On the right, figure 3 highlights in blue the area that is proposed for a dwelling, and that is what's actually available as contiguous, buildable, non-wetland, and land under 25% of steep slopes. That area is only about 60,480 square feet on this particular lot. The town's requirement of 1.5 acres of contiguous building land converted to square feet is 65,340, much more than the 60,480 designed for lot 20.2. And that's just one of the lots that I just described that don't meet the requirement. There are 9 of these that don't meet this requirement. So that's issue number 1. Issue number 2 is that Section 452B of the ordinance requires each lot to have a minimum width of 200 feet of frontage at the street. And there are no meets and bounds on the plans as we currently have them. But Mr. Chelman scaled the plans and determined that 7 of the lots failed this requirement of 200 feet of frontage on the street. Of those 7 lots, only 2 are also lots that failed the square footage requirement. So when you take those 7 and the 9, that's 16, right? But 2 of those lots both failed the 200 foot frontage requirement and the lot coverage requirement. When you add those 2 together, you get 14 lots that fail one or the other of these requirements in the ordinance. So 14 of 19 of these lots, as proposed, do not comply with your ordinance.
I'm sorry, where is that described in this document? On what page?
The second part?
Correct.
Page 9. First full paragraph.
Okay.
Okay? So the second issue, as I said, so obviously that's a huge issue for this board to examine. And we would recommend that issue be outsourced to a licensed engineer. Obviously, Mr. Chelman represents the Casales, but the board should have an independent review of this matter and have an independent consultant look at these issues.
It'll be going to one of our consulted ones, Ty and Bond.
Yeah.
Great.
There'll be
Ty and Bond.
Yeah, there'll be
Bond
assigned Ty and Bond. Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
Okay, so the second issue involves erosion and sedimentation, and I'm not gonna make this a personal issue. I'm gonna just make this a factual issue. Okay. Here's what we know. and this is the interest of the abutters to this site, okay? In September of 2022, one of the abutting properties was listed for sale. And in September of 2022, that sale package for this abutting property showed aerial footage. And the aerial footage of that property showed this area and did not show that. This is September of 2022. On May 10th of 2024, we commissioned drone footage that showed whatever that is in the left of Figure 5. On the right in Figure 5 is the plan that was submitted for the glass barn, the previous project proposed by this applicant, that shows the roadway for the glass barn as it was proposed earlier this year. So the facts are that sometime after September of 2022, the roadway on the left-hand side was cut into this forest. And unless it's magic, it looks a whole heck of a lot like the proposed roadway system for the glass barn on the right side. I don't know who did it, but it was done. And it was done without alteration of terrain permits, and it was done without sedimentation or erosion protections. And that's a problem for the abutters. And that's why there's so much anger in this town about this project, in part. The cleared roads, as I show you here, closely follow the proposal with more than coincidental alignment. You can follow, it looks almost exactly the same. Section 359 of your zoning ordinance prohibits construction that allows runoff to leave a subject property, and also requires that no ground disturbed due to construction and development is left as exposed bare soil. That's from your own ordinance. This is drone footage taken on May 10th of this year, showing significant erosion. It's on page 6 of your package of Mr. Chalman's letter. Remember, no runoff and no exposed bare soil per section 359. The subdivision regulations from the planning board prohibit any activities when any subdivision of land is proposed. No land within that proposed subdivision should be altered or cleared, and no road construction or building development started until all required land use permits and approvals have been issued. This road that I'm showing you would require alteration of terrain permits and would require significant protections for sedimentation and erosion. What I'm showing you from our drone footage in Figure 6 behind you, and in Figure 7, right near the West Alton Brook, which is obviously a highly sensitive environmental feature in your town. Figure 8, showing bare soil and runoff paths in the roadway clearing. And Figure 9, showing additional sedimentation and erosion carved into this area, are all concerns
I think you picked it up.
that the abutters have. So, again, we don't know who did this, but this is a significant concern, not just for Rick and Judy Casale as abutters, but for a whole number of abutters in the area, and we would ask the board, in consideration of this project, to please take careful steps to ensure that whatever is permitted on this site, after an evaluation of how many lots actually comply, is closely overseen by the requisite authorities to make sure that the environment in this area is protected. Thanks.
You can take it.
Any other public?
I'm John White, I live on County Road, and where that picture that was up there earlier where the S curve is, my house looks directly at that S curve looking up the hill. And I've lived on that property since 2003. That's when I bought the property there. And I can see from my deck, from my master bedroom, from my living room, I can see the logging trucks and the skidders as they went up and down that hill the last 2 times it was done. So I have a view of that property, which is one of the reasons I was very concerned when it was a glass farm. Back step a little bit. Prior to moving to this property, I lived in I lived in Loudon. I lived on the private development that goes through the Loudon Country Club. And from my house there, the racetrack is just below it. When Bob Bear owned the racetrack, he had a written contract with Canterbury and Loudon that there would be no night racing, there would be no lights there. When Speedway Motorsports bought the track 16 years ago, they basically said that was with Bob, not with us. Where I'm going with this is this piece here. That piece about no night racing, no lights, they said that was with the paved 1.058 oval, and not with the new track that is a dirt track that they built next to it, which is a 1/4 mile dirt oval. This past June, they had racing going till 11:35 at night under portable lights that they brought in. What was told us a short while ago is that the first house to be built will be on that top lot. I assume that will probably be one of the biggest houses in Alton. I would like to say that if you approve this project, that there be some teeth into it, that to all successors and assigns of this project, that home could never be expanded into a commercial, anything other than a residential property. Because then it could backtrack out, because it could be said by the current owners that, or the new owners, I should say, the agreement we had was with the former owner, not with us. I'd like to see something, if this passes, that could be some teeth, that this could never become a commercial property. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public? Go ahead, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. His name. Yes,
David Hancock's 35 Hermit Road. We're down below. We have a brook that travels right next to our house, and I've talked to the developer about the fact we were concerned about this development's impact on our brook, because that whole hillside drains down, and every spring we have a rushing torrent. Right now we're barely babble with that weather. I was listening to the comments regarding regional impact, and I mean, our brook is a minor impact on the lake, but the lake is obviously important to the entire region and the whole state when it comes to impact. This development has really steep roads. There was comment on traveling up there in the winter. It's going to require salt, sand. These are all residential properties. There's been a lot of discussion about fertilizers and pesticides and herbicides that go into residential landscapes, especially if you look at, we've all been on the lake, we've seen the big mansions with the big rolling lawns. That perfect grass doesn't come from luck, it comes from fertilizers and weed control and that kind of stuff. I know there's mitigation, I've heard that there's mitigation for stormwater, but I also think that there should be concern from whether it's you folks, you put it into your findings or whatever, more of just any runoff from these properties, how are things like salt and fertilizers and that type of thing handled? And is there any way of looking at lot design in such a way to minimize that kind of an impact on the environment? Because all that feeds into that large brook at the bottom, which does have a major impact on the lake. And my concern is just the quality of that water flowing into a resource that basically is supporting this entire area. That's my primary concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir.
I'm Richard Casali. I also live on Hermit Road. I am a direct abutter and the closest house to that top portion where those two proposed homes show on that plan. Before I start, I would just like to say one thing and recognize Robin, who has been a tremendous help. She's professional, helpful, courteous. Every time I've gone down there, every time I've called, she goes above and beyond, and she is an asset to the town of Alton. So thank you very much, Robin. I would like to echo what that gentleman said. Was it County Way that you lived on? Aside from the concerns that my attorney had outlined with the environmental impacts that have occurred, that may occur, one of our primary concerns is what happens to these homes. Are they going to be sold to the public, or are they going to be kept as short-term rentals, Airbnbs? And if they are, echoing what that gentleman said, what's to stop one of these structures on the top of the hill from suddenly morphing and manifesting into a clubhouse, a function facility? That's a primary concern I have, and that's where I would ask this planning board to take special effort to scrutinize and ensure from the applicant that what's going to happen, what they say is going to happen, is what will happen. I have a lot of developer friends in different parts of the state, different parts of the country. I've discussed a lot of this project and the prior project with them, and not making any accusations with this particular situation, but a lot of times things start out as one thing and magically change as time progresses and the project proceeds forward. So I want some assurances that this is not going to turn into the Glass Farm project, ultimately, with short-term rentals, with a commercial function facility, call it what you will. We belong to a development, or we're close to a development down in Florida. It's residential. They have a clubhouse, but they lease it out to the public. The weddings, corporate functions, the Cancer Society, you name it. And that's a major concern to me. I don't know what to do about it. I'm just putting that forth to this board now that it is a concern of myself and many of the other abutters here as well. And I would just ask that that be given special attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Oh,
my name is Dave Sabal. I live at 15 Laurel Lake, so I'm directly across from the driveway. This group that did the logging put the road in there. I had to call the town of Alton 3 times, 10:30 at night. They were logging, pulling stuff out of there. all the erosion and everything. I've been witness to all of it. It's right in my face. So I don't know how all that took place, but it did. So I just want to make you guys aware of that. We all have concerns, you know, what this is going to turn into. And as far as the view, you know, you guys are discussing, you see it's on a hill. It's going to look like North Conway does. The hill's going to be covered in these houses. It will have an impact. So, I mean, you guys need to drive up there and look and see it. It's a big bag. So, that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. Sir.
Hi, Bob Cavity, Woodlands Road. I just had a question for the engineer, just with regards to the pickleball courts and the parking lots up on one of the lots on the right. Thank you.
That's a question. Yeah, question to
Oh,
their
what was the question?
engineer. To their
What was the
engineer.
question?
So
That was the question. What's the, if you could explain what the pickleball courts and the parking that goes with it on that one lot up in the top right, if you could explain to me what that is, I'd appreciate it. Is it a clubhouse? They turned it into a residence.
Something that maybe we can get taken.
Do you want to go ahead and speak to
Well,
that?
if I answer all the questions after the public's done, I'm
Okay.
making notes of all of them.
Okay.
I'll address that with the others.
Okay. Any other, from the public? Anything else?
Do you have, can we see your numbers?
Thank you, gentlemen. My name is Valerie Tardo, and I live directly across from the development, and I'm at the corner of Cherry Valley and Laurel Lane. We've seen a lot over the last year and a half going on over there, and I concur with Dave, who was just up here talking about the logging roads. I've also had a person in favor of the project come at me one day when I was at the bottom of my hill pulling weeds, as to why was I against it. And I'm not against what's going to happen to that property, as far as we knew at some point it may get developed. We had hoped it would stay in conservation trust or something like that that would benefit, because there was so much wildlife up there. There was a tremendous amount of, the animals up there were incredible, the coyotes, everybody. It's gone. We're not seeing that up there since the development of the road went in last summer. The rental that was in the other project, my concern was already stated with what are the homes? Are they permanent homes that will be sold to people that will own them directly, or under the design group that will be like an owner's, like a co-op or something there? Because my firm belief is that we do need the residential property here because of the school systems. I'm a former teacher, retired teacher. I know that the school system has branched out to try to hold students and to keep students in the district, in this town, because as high schoolers go, they need certain programs, they need to have the teachers to teach them, and if we don't have the students to back that up, we eventually lose the teachers, and I believe also the programs. And Ryan, I think we've seen that over the last couple of years with the decreasing of the students. So I have a concern that I'd rather see houses up there that are permanent, that we hope are being bought by, and it may be a far out dream of mine, that are being bought by families that can come in with students that can enjoy this area, grow up in this area, and be part of our community and be part of our school system. And that's a concern that I had with the rental of the cottages in the glass barn that I hope will be addressed in this new project, but I'm not concerned. I also agree with that, the pickleball courts and the clubhouse, I think it was lot 13 in this issue, in that, is it a gated community like a co-op, that will be used strictly for those people? or again, rent it out to other people so that they can come in and use it, which would again increase the traffic or become some sort of a commercial business. Another concern that I had along the way was with all the houses up there going into the streams with the septic systems and the drainage on the water. I personally am not an expert in this, but hope that because of that mountain, because of the drainage and the thing, it's not going to and I've heard it has affected other communities where it decreases water supplies and things like that. I know we have a lot of water in that area, but it is a concern, and I would hope that when you guys address it, there's ways to find out if it will affect it or not. So lots of issues, animals, environment, again, the permanent residents, and I know that it's all residential right now, but when I saw the pickleball courts, it kind of concerned me a little bit about that. And then the size of the buildings up on the top of the hill, will they be kept as residential properties owned by private owners so that it doesn't get turned into something else? Because there is a lot of area up there to add parking and whatever, I think, I'm not sure. And so that's all I have to say. It's concerning. I know something's gonna go there. We just wanna make sure it stays in that rural, and it meets the mission statement that you guys all talk about and that you've planned about and spent years developing. Our town is known for being a small town, being a very community, and taking that all into account. That's what I want to see if it's going to get developed. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from public? That's it? Okay, I'll close public. And
sure, let me see if I can
you're up.
check my notes here. I'll start with Mr. Miller's comments.
Can I just ask one question before you start?
Sure.
Was there an intent to cut done on the property?
Not to my knowledge, but I want to clarify that. And I'm going to address some of these concerns about the pictures. First off, Mr. Miller's comments. My view of something that's a fact is a little bit different. My understanding of a fact is something that somebody has personal knowledge of. It's been an allegation that some road was built at some time based on a picture from 21 that none of us have seen. We don't know who took it, where they took it from, what the angles were. I've personally been on that property. I don't call that trail a road. And it looks like it's been there for quite a long time. We asked the DES to go physically to that property to rebut prior complaints. And I have a letter which I will submit that there is no violation there. And to the extent that people are concerned about this, I'm going to call BS on that. Probably the only one that knew about it is Miller, Mr. Attorney Miller, and his report wasn't even published until yesterday. So this question about a road, to me, is a red herring. To the extent there's a road there, has no bearing on this application, certainly can be discussed at design review. If there was an issue, you have a right to take enforcement, you have a right to investigate it, but it doesn't preclude someone from seeking subdivision approval. With respect to the frontage, we went through that, we tested all of the lots. One of the calculations was short on the cul-de-sac. That was adjusted to get the 200 feet. Unfortunately, Mr. Chelman is not here. We haven't heard from him. I don't know how he calculated it. There's the 140 acres. There's plenty of room to make sure that works. Same thing goes for his contiguous lot area. We'll look at that calculation, seen it for a day, talk to Cindy about it. Her calculations prove otherwise. I'm sure Ty and Bond will look at it as well and give us some feedback on how to work through that. I see that as an issue that we can resolve. We can work to get it right. And that's our sole objective here. With respect to the lot with the pickleball courts and the parking, astute observation by the gentleman that raised that concern. That was initially not going to be a house. The thought was to have a small clubhouse with pickleball courts, maybe a pool and guest parking. So the lots weren't inundated with more pavement. Have it focused on a high area. In the discussions, that would require a variance. Having a house on that lot would avoid having to go to the ZBA, and we could put the pickleball courts and the parking on that lot and give the other lot owners an easement through our CCRs, which covenants and restrictions that are on the site. So that's what that's contemplated to be. It will not be for the public. It will not be a public pickleball venue or not a public parking area. It is for overflow parking. Certainly whoever looks at that lot and buys it will take that into consideration, that they'll be burdened by an easement. With respect to what happens in the future with this lot, we're not here in this case or any subdivision I submit or work on to make promises to the future. Just like none of you, I would believe, would want to make restrictions or waive any rights with respect to your properties. We've all been through COVID. Some of us have been through '89. Some have been in 2008. I can't tell you how many approved subdivisions that cost a lot of money to get approved, had every intent to be built out, that either didn't get fully built out or were altered. This property could get sold. Someone could buy it. Someone could graze cattle on it. So we can't make any predictions for the future. All that I can tell you is that any house built on this lot will have to adhere to the building code requirements and all of the life safety obligations. What happens to it in the future is unknown. I can't predict the future, and I don't think there's any right in any subdivision of law that would restrict someone from changing their mind downstream. If someone bought a house there, for example, they lived in it for 10 years, they either wanted to make an addition to it, maybe they wanted to do a B&B, maybe they wanted to do something else. I think they have the right to try and do it. They would have to go through the process, right? Meet with town staff, maybe get a variance, maybe get a special exception, go through site plan review. The intent here is to do a residential subdivision, to develop them and to sell them to people that will live in them. What they do with them, we're not going to restrict as long as they adhere to the law. Some of them may use them for permanent residences, some may use them for vacation homes, some may choose to rent them. And they can only do that if it's allowed by law. And I'm not certain if it's even allowed in this area, because that's not something that we've contemplated doing. With respect to wetlands and environments and size of the home, I would suspect someone that acquired that lot due to its configuration and its views would probably build a large home on it. But I've been around these parts for quite a while, lived in Guilford for quite a bit. There's some very large homes right on the water in Alton. I would guess some of those that exist today will be considerably larger than any home that is built in this subdivision. And those homes are much more proximate to the water. And I think when we all drive around in our cars and boats, we can see lawns that make us scratch our head and say, how can they get that kind of turf without fertilizer? So I don't know how that happens, but this is so far removed from the lake. And the size of the house, whether it's regulated by the building code or not, it will have to meet all the building code requirements. I think from my notes, those were the questions that I had. If the board recalls anyone that I missed, I'm happy to try and address it.
It sounds like the town was notified of the logging in the middle of the night by Mr. Silko. Did you ever receive anything as a property owner saying somebody was logging your property?
My understanding in talking to folks at the town was that there was a significant ice storm, probably in the late 2000s, where a lot of the trees on that slope were removed. What they did, I have no personal knowledge of it. I will look into it and try and provide an explanation. All I can tell you is that I received a letter about 2 days before the ZBA hearing, maybe 1 day, that made similar allegations that are in Mr. Chilman's letter, that the applicant did something nefarious. We was concerned about that, and we went to the DES to say, look, we didn't do anything wrong here. We want you to take an independent look at this and make sure nothing was done. I'm sure once we go through this design, we've got some work to do, right? We've got to check our spellings, we've got to do those calculations, and at some point you'll probably want to go look at it. You can see for yourself what it looks like. And it's pretty clear to me that that area has been traveled for a long time to do forestry and other practices, and that's something that's different than a road.
I'm not suggesting anything nefarious, but if something happened during, your guys' ownership, and it was reported to the police, Mr. Chairman, is it fair to me to ask Mr. Sable if anything ever got documented from the police?
Yes, it did.
It did.
It's in the record. Yes.
It's in the record.
We have the date, please?
They have it. I don't have it right here with me. But yes, it
Police.
was.
Okay.
And that road is not the same road. There is an old road, and I'll walk it with you and show you where the original road was. That is not it.
I was asking the question just so we can chase down the information. I appreciate the comment. Thank you.
November of 2023.
November 23.
Three separate reports. November of 23. So to the
We don't
best
have a
of
police
your knowledge.
report.
I don't,
We don't have it.
No, but we'd never looked for one, so, for this board. I'm
Right.
saying the police department probably has that.
So to the best of your knowledge, that property has not been logged since your ownership, right?
You can explain, Jeremy, turn that to it. Introduce yourself. please.
Jeremy Martin, builder. So intent to cut was filed with the town. Town taxes were paid for the state of New Hampshire for the logging of the actual proposed where we're going to be putting the road, so that we could do the test borings to see what was ledge, what was topsoil, so we can do our cut and fills for our road engineering, and so that on the construction of the other people that are bidding on the project can figure out how much it's going to cost to get to the top of the mountain.
Could I ask you to repeat that? I think I missed the first part of it, but you said you logged it so you could get access.
Yes, we filed an intent. Sorry.
You might want to pull that back
Pull
to
that,
you.
yeah.
No, pull it towards you.
Yeah.
It'd be a little louder.
So I filed an intent to cut with the town, which I believe it goes to the town and the state, and then the state forestry agent comes out. We looked at it, and then the logging company came in. I wish they worked till 10 o'clock at night, but maybe they were loading log trucks at that time of night. But then they logged it. Then we came in. We did test boring. Capital Drilling came in, and they do test boring every 50 feet or 25 feet going up the hill to see how far to ledge, how far to bedrock, to see what we're going to need for materials, so that so the client can tell the client how much it's going to cost to get to the top of the mountain.
When was that done? When was that done?
That was done, was it last fall? Yeah, last fall.
November 2023?
Yeah, I would say it was filed in October, November 2023.
Okay.
So again, nothing nefarious, just something you probably weren't aware of.
Sure.
So the actual, where the map was showing, with the arrows and stuff, that's actually the original logging trail that several people use to go up there with four-wheelers hunting. We have a four-wheeler that we go up to the top. We've got, I think, 9 or 10 people that would grant permission to hunt on the property with their four-wheelers, and that's the way they get up and down to the top and their tree stands as well.
Can I ask you a separate question, sir? You said you were the builder?
Yes.
Are these your plans that you agree with, or do you have a separate set of plans?
No, these are the plans that work for us for the subdivision, for the houses. We're known in the area. We built a subdivision just up the road at an apple orchard up on Glidden Road. And Meredith Neck would do more detailed subdivisions where we try to conserve as much land and do really nice timber frame style homes.
So you're aware of the bridge with the roof over it?
Covered bridge, yes. That's something she really, really wants.
Thank you. I'm just curious if they're just two different entities.
Very expensive, but.
Or if you guys are working together. Because it seems like maybe you weren't for their.
I don't like getting up and talking in front of these.
Fair enough, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Do you want to discuss this?
I guess I just clarify, because I did ask earlier if there was an intent to cut.
But we can.
So you got an intent to cut, but it wasn't necessarily for the wood, it was for the root.
Correct.
So that's why it looks like there's a road.
Correct.
Is because, I mean, your intent, you cut for a purpose.
Yep.
And that's what that's all about.
Most, like, I think it was about, I think it was 80% you see on the cut report. I think it was like 80 or 85% was all chip because it's just such small stuff. And like John said, that years ago with the ice storm and stuff, that it was pretty heavily logged in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe just one other question. Again, the intent is to keep these roads private, not have the town take them over.
Correct. It's to create a high-end subdivision, kind of like if you go, the old apple orchard up the street off Glidden Road, something like I did there.
I'd like to. No, go ahead. No, I'm done. No, go ahead.
On the pickleball court, how many parking spaces are there with the pickleball court?
Gosh, 19,
Don't know.
I think. I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head. I think we've got 19 there.
Say again, I think.
19.
I believe we've got
19 spaces.
Yeah.
How many pickleball courts?
2.
All right, thank you.
All right, so, all right, any more questions? All right, well, we're all set, thank you. What I'd like to do now is, I think we should do a site walk. I'd like to schedule that with the board. I think it'd be good for us to take a look.
Can I bring my four-wheeler?
Sure. You don't want to keep on putting on.
This is quite a big site. Do you want to do this like prior to a meeting or something, or do you want to schedule a separate day altogether,
Wait
right?
till they put in a formal application.
Yeah. So we'll schedule a site walk and we'll let everyone know when afterwards what we find, but we definitely, the board, we're definitely going to go look at the property, just to let the public know.
Well, could I ask just another item and request?
Sure.
The map, you know, there was a lot of numbers going around. Thank you all. Very interesting. You know, I'm glad we got to the bottom of some different things and all of that. One of the issues on the map was basically, I'm not going to use the exact word, but usable lot acreage on the lot sizes. Could we ask someone to come up with the actual, because sir, you offered that, I appreciate it, but you said you were working off, you know, sort of.
Yeah, and I'm not an engineer, so I don't want to represent you.
Could we get someone to pull those numbers together too, so we make sure that even the 19 acres fit?
Well, that all gets done.
Ty and Bond is going to get assigned to this part of the overview for the town. Yeah, they'll sort all the numbers out.
Yeah, we already signed them.
Work with both.
Yep. They'll get us all those numbers. Yep. Yep. All right. So we're all set with that.
So you could see.
Yeah, so we're all set with that.
All set with the roof?
The regional impact.
We're all set with you.
Procedurally,
You
we
guys-
can continue this for a month, or should we do our homework and then ask them if they come back on?
Sorry, go ahead.
So this is design review, so this is just your presentation to us. We included the public because they had their concerns. And then it will, you know, from there, then you'll go through the planner review and talk to the planner about, you know, your design and go on from there. And then the next time you come back, then it would be for completeness.
Just so I'm happy to do that, and we'll make our corrections and our spelling issues and things. And is design review concluded now?
Yes.
It is, okay.
Not yet.
No?
Not yet.
Okay.
You guys have to determine whether or not this has regional impact.
Yeah, regional impact. We tabled it to the end of public input, so we just need to decide that now. All right. He mentioned the fact, Robin mentioned the fact that we tabled the decision on regional impact until after the public spoke. So the board has to revisit that now before we're complete on design review, just design review.
Well, we do have also number 11. Other, does the development create other regional impacts not listed above? And from the public input, there are some concerns.
But the question would be, are they regional impacts, or are they concerns in a local context?
Yeah.
I thought there was one actually concerned that would potentially was runoff going into the brook, maybe through the lake.
Yes.
Into the large brook, yeah.
Well, that's all
We
taken
did say
care
yes.
of with stormwater. Detention ponds, they clean the water.
This was yes. For the brook.
So, yeah, so we did touch on that, actually, yep.
I mean, basically, the subdivision can't go to brook.
So the answer is yes.
It was number six was
Number six
we-
talks to that specific
Yeah, we
point.
put yes.
Which we said yes to.
Yep. Yep. So, so as far as an impact, we would do that one, right? Everything else was a no.
Well, what that says,
Right?
Yeah, that would be the only
So
one
that would be
was-
the only one would be we would have,
it says, does the development occur on or adjacent to known aquifers? Okay, so let's eliminate that. It's not a known aquifer. Or surface waters that transcend municipal boundaries.
Yes.
So that could be
yeah,
That's the
the
brook.
stream.
right.
But the whole idea of the subdivision, it's all has groundwater, it's all captivated. I mean, so there's no more water gonna go into the stream than would on Wednesday, Thursday, any day of the week. It has to be, this has to be designed to collect the water. Any water from the houses, the roads, all is collected into ponds, it's cleaned, then dispersed, or gone into the ground. So it's not like this subdivision is sending water right to the lake.
On top of which, I would offer that we can have Ty and Bond look into this further too,
Right.
for the town's interest.
From town's perspective,
Yeah.
for sure.
What does the survey in the end do? You know, if we took the survey, do you have any questions?
So basically, that's just a guide for the board, so it doesn't, they don't give you a certain amount, like so many yeses or so many nos means regional impact.
Right.
They send it as a guideline that you're
Right.
supposed to go through. This is a good checklist to sort of discuss as a land use board what issues might arise or what might exist with a certain project. And then the board has to decide at that point in time, based on their answers and their discussion, is there enough of these points to warrant a regional impact, or is it more, it's not to say that there's no impact, but this is specific to regional.
Right.
And in a rural community, I mean, this is, I don't want to say generic, but it is generic to all the area, all the cities and towns in the area. Some have larger sewer systems, some have larger municipal waters. So, you know, the regional impact and regional school districts too. So regional impact is going to differ from one community to the other.
So the 11 questions that is just
It's a guide for us.
It is, just a guideline.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes, okay, thanks.
So do we need a motion to?
Yeah, it would, at this point, in order to close design review, we have to have, the board has to make a motion one way or another as to whether or not
this
it's
is
a regional impact or not.
Okay.
I don't think we could until Ty and Bond looked at it, no? Didn't you just say that a minute ago?
Well, I made the point that we should have them look into, you know, are there any stormwater issues that come up from the erosion content?
Well, and the other thing is,
But that'll come up as part of the design review process.
Right.
Whether that's a regional impact, I really find that a little bit hard to believe on a 17-lot subdivision.
and the other thing is, the question that I mentioned at the beginning of this thing, where you're calling this a tool for us. This seems to me more for a tool for the building inspector or the planning department.
We are.
Well, I know, but this says just that if one of these 11 things occurs, then you send it to the planning department. which is something we look at. It's not for us to send it to somebody else.
Yeah, no,
We are
if
the
the,
planning department.
yeah, but no, if the land use board decides that there's a regional impact, then it needs to go to the regional,
It will go to the
it
planning.
would go to the Lakes Region,
Yeah.
Planning Commission. And the regional, there's a regional committee that reviews the project. It goes out, it will go out to a regional impact committee. They will review the project before it comes back here.
Okay. So we need a motion to either determine whether this is a regional impact or not.
Maybe we should take a tally vote before we decide whether it's a, I think that's the best way to determine what we,
I guess we do that after the motion.
yeah, I guess. I'll make a motion that we determine this is not a municipal impact.
Regional impact.
Regional impact.
Okay.
I would second that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the motion.
I would motion that we determine this not to be a regional impact.
And a second.
Based on the guidelines, and I would second that.
Any discussion?
I disagree. I think we should have, I can't say whether it does or does not definitively, and I can't in good conscience just
Will they
go
take a
along and
vote?
say it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Can I ask who was opposed
So,
and who was in favor? Can I get names?
okay.
Doug and Roger in favor.
You're in
Doug
favor?
and Roger in favor?
Yep. And then Nick disagreed and
Mark, Tom disagrees.
Tom,
Mark.
Mark,
Christine,
Christine's in favor.
In favor of the motion? Okay, sorry.
Okay. Christine.
Is that everybody?
So,
You didn't
yeah,
vote.
no, I didn't vote, so I'm gonna have to be the tiebreaker. So, I'm gonna vote yes.
Yes for the motion,
That,
or?
no, I'm gonna vote no on the motion, sorry. I think it does have a regional impact, and I think the time bond we should get something from them.
But my understanding procedurally, this will have to go to the Lakes Region Commission.
Yes, at this point, I'm gonna have to send it directly to that commission, like
Within
soon.
5 days.
Yeah.
We have 5 days to send it out. Or to at least notify them and get the process.
And then what's the process, what do they do with it from there?
Jessica will probably be able to clarify that more than I. I'm
All
not
right.
too familiar.
We don't know how many meetings or what their process is for reviewing, but at that point in time, within that time frame, the committee will gather and review the project specifically to regional impact. And then they'll have whatever conditions or comments and feedback for the applicant and their team.
So can I ask a question? Does that mean the motion failed?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion failed, but regional impact is determined.
Right.
Based on the failure of the motion.
Right.
All right,
So with that,
we're done with that one? Okay.
we're all set.
All right.
Do you need another set of plans for them, Morgan, or do you have?
Sorry, could you speak up?
Just procedurally again, do you need another set of plans to send to them, or is electronic okay, or how do you do that?
I believe I have to send physical copies to them,
Yeah.
along with the minutes. I think the whole application and plans, yes.
Okay. Can you just let me know if you need more?
Yeah, I'll get in touch with you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, point of order, just a question. Design review is not closed, correct? This process is ongoing.
I don't know if we can.
We don't necessarily close it, it's just a presentation. So the next next step would, like I said, they would go on to, meet with the planner and, obviously, go through our concerns, but they still have to go through the process for, completeness.
No, I think
Well,
don't you have to deem the design review would be complete? Because
Yes.
then we would send a letter to them stating that
vote
the
on it.
design,
So,
no, you just determine whether or not it's complete. So what he's asking is, are you guys considering the design review complete or at this point?
that is what I'm asking. Under
Yeah.
RSA 676, and John, we can do this together because it'll
I think
just
the
save
question
everybody a lot of
is,
time.
On a
I
design
think
review, we never voted on it.
Under
But the question also is,
6764,
we're
board
waiting
has
for
to decide
our
whether the design
engineers to be
review is
back.
Right.
closed.
There's gonna be
Right.
I
changes,
think
so
I'm
I
under
don't
the assumption that you're still working through these issues, so it's not closed, but we need to know that.
I asked that question, and you probably didn't hear it, and they said that it was concluded, that we take the comments and rework our plans and work with the planner
Yeah.
and file a final application.
Right.
And I don't think that's right, given what's happened here, so can we figure that out, because that's pretty important. Because it matters to the public whether they're gonna get another chance to look at the revised set of plans as part of design review or not, and what regional impact says.
Is the public hearing still open? Is that what we can have here?
No, or
No.
they never close it.
No, but moving forward from here, when they do come back, for the site plan, there will be there's always public input.
Right,
You know,
I have to close the public
Right.
hearing, that's all.
I did close it, yes, I did.
Then I
Yeah.
don't think you can speak for me.
Well, no.
He had a point of order.
Yeah.
From the applicant's perspective, we'd ask that you complete the design review. I mean, we've heard all the comments and we have all the calculations. We can go back to the drawing board and clean it up for a final submission. And I suspect when we file, you send it out to Ty and Bond and do a site walk and do all those things you typically do.
Yeah.
I think the only concern right now that we don't have the answer to before we formally close it, I know we have to issue the letter, but I believe that since it did go to regional impact, I don't think they can close the design review because of regional impact feedback.
I understand it's your discretion.
Yeah,
We'll follow
so-
whatever you decide.
Well, we definitely have a contact at Lakes Region Planning Commission because they're the ones that were notified and sent us all of this. So Robin and I will reach out to them immediately and get an answer one way or the other. But once we get that sort of feedback and the determination is that we're done working through that, we'll issue a formal letter by RSA, closing design review, and moving forward with that. But yes, at the next, whenever we come back, there will be, the public will have an opportunity to speak and listen to everything, and stuff like that, so, yeah.
Curious whether that will be in design review or in final site.
I guess it depends on how many issues come back, whether there's another hearing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and, it can come back to site review and there could be more problems.
Right.
And, like we did with Obashan, we continued it, because there were too many problems that need to be fixed. And, we take our time with this to make sure that these are done correctly. So.
Understood, I was just trying to understand procedurally where we were.
Yeah, like I said, design review is just a presentation to us, to the board. This is what we want, this is what we're looking at to do. And then from there, then they work with the planning department on fixing all the questions that we and you had, and then they'll come back to us when we get to that point.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
Nope, we're all set.
We're all set, yep. Nope. No, so.
It's regional impact thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I've not done it.
All set?
Me either.
All right,
Oh, yeah, no,
thank
we're
you.
good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so.
We made it through.
That was a horrible ending.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Have a good night.
So I'm still confused. Does this Lake Region Planning Committee have to sign off on this thing before they can move forward?
It's not really, they can't deny it, but they may have conditions. Or they may.
They can come and look at it.
Yeah.
And they can,
So they're
they're
gonna only make recommendations.
Right.
They could come back and say that.
They're also looking at it with the other community in mind as well.
Well, these are all the regulations. No. So.
No, that was perceptions of the board members.
You know what? I want them to make the decision.
Blow through. It's going public. Read that just for you.
I was just hoping I didn't have to make it fun. That's all I would.
I noticed you trying to skip.
Oh, I was trying to get out of that, yeah.
Yes, you kept your mouth shut.
I did, yep. I did. I'll admit it. Okay, so, okay, we're down to other business, old business. Do we have any old business? Hey. You just. Okay, they're heading home. Okay, thank you.
We're still in meeting, if we could.
Yeah,
be quiet
yeah.
in the audience.
So this one you said, this is the island one, is an actual building permit.
Right, the first one is a building permit.
So, case P2430, building permit permission request. Building permit for private road island, Richard and Donna Dolan, map 77, lot 12, 330 Rattlesnake Island, Lakeshore Residential Zone. And
This was kind of like the,
well, this isn't a short-term rental, right?
No, this house doesn't exist. This is a building permit, not a short-term rental. So the short-term rentals are usually existing homes, which are the
Right.
other two on the agenda.
Right.
So this one, what you need to look at, so there's no home on the island, but all your department head reviews, all they were concerned about is boat access to the island. And you can see that there's a dock, that the dock location is there, hand drawn on there. And the department heads don't have any issues, because access is really the only
So this
concern
is
to the
just-
island.
So this is all we're concerned about, is just the access?
Yep.
That's it?
Yeah, because
What,
it's
just
waiver,
of
it's a waiver of
liability?
liability.
Waiver of liability,
Yep.
okay. So, sir, you put a dock in?
Oh,
The dock was there when we purchased the property.
I didn't know he was here.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah. Okay, so this is just for access, waiver of liability.
I'm sorry, I can't remember.
I'm sorry, so this is just for access for waiver of liability, right? Okay.
So is the intent to repair the dock, replace the dock?
Nothing to do with the dock, it's a building permit to
build a house.
rebuild the house, the camp that's there.
Yeah.
Which is pretty well completed, and put a new.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And the dock is there for access? That's, okay, that's. Okay. Okay, so this is, all right, yeah, because it's gonna issue return rental permit, but that is just on this, right?
Mhm.
So this is just for, okay,
It's just to build a new home.
okay.
We require it when there's no
right.
access off a class
Okay.
5 or better road.
But then, in the text in this memo, it says the application in regard to the issuance of a short-term rental
Right,
permit.
that's what I just.
I think that's where I messed up,
That's
and I
just a
apologize for that.
mistake. Okay.
Okay.
That's what I'm confused.
Yeah, that was my error, because it is for a building permit.
So.
Oh, yeah, and the
okay.
reference there has building permit. There was a conflict in the
This is
typo.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve case P 24-30, waiver of liability for access to the island via the dock.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
You're all set, sir.
All set? Thank you.
You
too. Sorry to make you wait so long.
Yeah, sorry about that. That's okay.
Okay, the next one is, case P number 24-19, building permission, short-term rental, private road, Crystal North, map 65, lot 34, 6 Beach Street, Lakeshore Residential.
This is again just for a waiver liability.
Waiver liability.
So I make a motion to approve case number P24-19 for the short-term rental request and waiver liability. Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next one, case P 24-21, building permit permission request for short-term rental for private road, James, Linda, Collin, Angela Spillane, map 38, lot 27, 9 Spokies Way, Lakeshore Residential.
I make a motion to approve case number P24-21 for the short-term rental request and waiver of liability.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and we'll move on to approval of planning board minutes from July 16th, 2024.
I have a request on line number 11, isn't spelled, that's all.
11?
So sensitive.
Wow.
I know it hurt.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as amended.
Second that.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Any correspondence? Review, discussion, action, we didn't have anything there. Correspondence, nothing. Did you have anything else? You guys have anything? Anybody have anything else?
I would just, make a note that we're missing Jessica Call and hope she comes back soon.
What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say you're not.
Okay, all right, we need a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion, we adjourn.
And I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Well, on that note, Nick, I'm gonna take my ball and go home. I'm gonna go shut the camera.
Wow.
Good job.